Good morning to everybody. Everybody hear us okay?
Loud and clear.
Okay. So I believe I did a head count. The only two that aren't with us or are not going to be with us are Rich and Chris. And then Cindy is trying to get on. Yes, really. Okay. So yeah, just want to welcome y'all. Been a little bit and a whole lot of nothing for winter, um, which is, we'll see. I don't want to start out worrying about anything in the beginning of this meeting, but just so you know, Helena got a nice dose. Well, at least where I live, we got about 3 inches of wet, heavy, full of water snow. It was really awesome. So hopefully you guys are getting a little bit of something, or it's going to come in the next little bit. So um, we have all you folks, and then in the office here we have, we'll start maybe with Quentin.
Quentin, in the director's office here in Helena.
Francis, outdoor skills program manager, Hunter Ed guy.
Jason Cool, Hunter Access and DLPW admin support.
Renee Lemon, Parks and Outdoor Recreation Division Administrator.
Alex Galvino, Agency Legal Counsel.
And then it looks like in the regions we have some access folks.
Yep, we do if you want. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's start with Cheyenne. Are you on, Cheyenne?
Morning, everybody. Cheyenne Parker, Region 3 Access Manager.
Yep. Morning.
This is on. Region 7.
Okay. Morning, Travis.
Morning, Travis Mshay, Region 7 Access Manager, Miles City.
Ian's here.
Ian Davidson, Region 5 Access Manager, Billings.
Katie in Region 6 is up there with Lee.
Katie Iverson, Region 6 Access Manager out of Glasgow.
We do have a few other staff, Mr. Chair, like education staff, and so I don't know if you want other staff to introduce themselves to you or how you'd like to. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, Mark, Drew.
Yeah, Mark Cloker. I'm the Region 6 Communication Education Program Manager here in Glasgow.
Good morning, everyone. Drew Henry. I'm the Regional Supervisor here in Glasgow. Just enjoying a cup of coffee with Lee.
Sarah Malloy.
Good morning, Sarah Malloy, Education Bureau Chief out of Helena.
Morning.
Greg Lemon, I'm the head of communication and education, and I am here in Helena, but not in the room. Thanks for having me.
And then, like Brad Schmitz, Regional Supervisor of this area. Oh, no, that was like Marla.
Good morning,
Marla.
Maureen Prowl, ComEd Program Manager in Miles City Office, Region 7.
Mr. Ruggles.
Morning, everybody. Mike Ruggles, Regional Supervisor out of Billings.
I think that's all our staff, Mr. Chair, unless I missed somebody. Natalie is also attending.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks everybody. If we got everybody, thank you for being here with us today. So just a real quick run over the agenda. We're going to have a presentation on hunter education. Francis is in the room with us, and then as you saw, Greg and Sarah there to give us a rundown on the status of hunter ed programs and any comments, questions, challenges should come up in there a bit for you. Then we're going to go through a draft plan for the strategy for the rest of the year in all of the policy and I guess, agenda items that we want to look at throughout 26. Then within that, if you do have any comments from the last meeting on the landowner preference or any of the minutes from last meeting, we'll save it for in that time. So make a note of that if you do have such comments. And then we'll take a look at our 26 timeline as far as calendar dates and a work plan, and then wrap up with home reports. So we'll just start off right with that. And anybody have anything real burning before we get going with Francis Righteous here? Seeing nothing, we'll get right to you.
Excellent. All right. Good morning, everyone. I'll dive right in. Sarah, if anybody adds notes or anything, will you mind keeping track for me? And then you and I can touch base later on those. So.
Great.
Okay, so just the agenda. Oh, thanks, Sarah. Kind of a basic outline. The purpose is to provide an overview, and with recent changes and participation data, key challenges for instructors and/or stakeholders. This kind of started me presenting this from Donna's story. So the quick abbreviated story is Donna's grandson was looking for a field day for an online course that he had taken, and there were none in the area. So Donna somehow got my number and called me, and I went down and taught a field day in the stockyard of Sheridan, and it was great. So it kind of stemmed this conversation of Hunter Ed and what's happening in it. And I've been in this position for a little over 2 years, so I feel like it's a good time. I've studied it like I studied college courses. So a few discrepancies here. In the ages, there is some delineation, but instead of writing 11 turning 10 in the license, or 11 turning 12 in the license year, or 10 turning 10 at the beginning of the first class, I just wrote numbers. So course options. We offer an in-person course across the whole state for any age. We do some specific courses. We have some EOW becoming an enrollment courses across the state and some adult-only courses. But the average age of a student is between the ages of 10 and 12. They can enter in at a in-person class as long as they turn 10 while the class is going on. So we have predominantly mostly youth taking those courses. The next one is a hybrid format. Hunter Education, Bow Hunter Ed and Trapper Ed are both hybrid. All or three are hybrid. And those are for ages 12 to 17. Those require the mandatory field day, which is what Donna was seeking for her grandson. So that mandatory field day can range based on the number of students, but it has a minimum course content. And then we have online only, which is a large number of students for us, and it's only for adults, 18 plus. We can go over some numbers at the end here, but here's this little snapshot of what we got going on in our classes. This is 2025, and this is on average for what we do about every year. Even during COVID, there wasn't much delineation in this. So about 3,200 students doing courses last year for in-person, which is pretty awesome. Field days for online students, we did 1,195 students, which for Hunter Ed only. Bow Hunter Education in person, we did 508 students, which is up. That's actually on an increase. We average around 300. So that's about 200 more plus students in our Bow Hunter Ed classes, which is pretty awesome. We did our Bow Hunter Ed course has actually grown tremendously with offering the field day for online students. But prior to January 1st of 2024, we did 0 students in a field day. And last year we did 258, which is incredible. So our Bow Hunter Ed course is growing tremendously. Let's see. Should we this down just a little bit? Maybe. Okay, whoops. Oh, there. Can you guys see that very well? Missing that bottom action. Oh, Trapper Ed, we did 243 students, which is super awesome. Trapper Ed is new in 2022. So it's been a fun course to watch. We have a ton of current up-to-date data on it as well that we can go over a little bit. And then we do a virtual wolf trapper with 128 students in the last year. So it's pretty incredible. As a brief overview, do you guys have any questions on those numbers? As far as over time, what's super interesting is Trapper Ed, we miss about a third of people who take the online and don't get into a field day. Trying to track down why that is. Our primary issue, I would say, is not enough availability for field days. We do between 9 and 13 since the course started and was able to be offered field days across the region. You could imagine in the spring when we hold the majority of our hunter ed, trapper ed, bow hunter ed classes, it's on the minds of our diehard customers. But as far as in the fall, when everybody's thinking of it, we don't put them on as much. So trapper ed kind of peters off at the end. And then right before December 1st, when we're looking at Bobcats, people are always calling to get a trapper ed course. So that's one of the struggles for that class, which is a pretty regular, and it's getting harder as we offer more options. So one of our major issues, challenges for the program has been volunteership. We've had a series of decline of volunteers throughout time. You look back a decade when we had, over 1,000 volunteers in the program. We're roughly at that, but combined between the three programs, volunteership has tailed off across every volunteering agency or nonprofit across the whole nation. So we have an aging demographic. If you were to look, we're pretty old as far as I tease them. There's a lot of gray hair in the rooms when I go visit. So, and there hasn't been a really good structured recruiting system to get new instructors into the program. So it's been kind of a difficult scenario. In the last 2 years since I've held this job, we've actually had 170 new instructors apply and finish. Our application process is actually quite lengthy, and we currently have 38 in the pending box. So we follow up with a series of communications trying to get them across the finish line. One of those issues, those people who don't finish, are they going to be active for us? If they're not actively pursuing in that application process and finish it, if they don't or stagger, I would imagine that they're not actually going to be as engaged for us as well. So outside of an aging population of volunteers, the agency hasn't really done a good job, from my perspective, over the last 2 years, recruiting new instructors. So when I first started, I went on a big recruitment. I went around to Rocky Mountain Elk, Mule Deer, Ducks Unlimited, Turkey Foundation, and actively Bow Hunters Association. I saw several people on the board today in those, and I brought QR codes. I brought new and updated information and went around, and I got very few people who were interested. So it was kind of a disappointment for me. And then one of our largest recruitment tools that I've been using is teaching the field day for online students myself. I get far more new volunteers to do that at the end of a field day. So to meet the more rural regions across the state, which has been really encouraging. We've really gotten a lot of new instructors across the state because we haven't been able to offer field days into a lot of areas. So, and Donna is one of those people who have said they'd sign up and help too. So it's been actually really encouraging to go out and be the face for that. So our recruiting process has been pretty poor. We've done better in the last 2 years, but on top of that, our training. What we currently do is an instructor applies, they get into the system. We put them in connection with the regional, the Mark Cloakers, the Marla Perels around the regions, and then they go out for a 5-hour observation inside of a course. And that's been relatively good. And for a new instructor in 2026, if that's what you're offered, are they ever going to feel comfortable and confident in teaching on their own, leading another course? Probably not. And that's actually one of the challenges I didn't mention in here is course leads. It's the same people across the whole state who have led classes in their region for generations. There are very few new lead instructors across the state. So it's been quite a challenge to do that. Since I've started, we've tried to train more and have structured outlines and get them in the hands of instructors so that they can be more competent getting out there. But that brings into a territorial squabble amongst instructors as they get out. So if you get a new young instructor, they have new ideas or want to lead a class on their own, there's this territorial squabble that happens inside of it. So, and it's actually a very realistic challenge for us is young and new instructors are actually getting no callbacks. If they come in and they think we should teach something different, they're getting not a callback. And the original people stay within their cadre that they normally feel comfortable with teaching. So their recruitment, training, and then keeping them in the program has been solely relied upon, from my point of view, is instructors. And so that's been a pretty difficult challenge. And I'd like to flip that script just a little bit. So as we hired our 7 ed techs around the regions, the goal is to help them, train them, and have them be the communication and help them get the training out to the instructors and help bring those people into the fold. So that's a good challenge with a good solution there on top of that. So any questions so far?
So one thing I want to make sure we've all got a grasp on. So remind me on the council, and just speak up. Who is a hunter ed instructor on the council? I know Dale is. Everett?
Yep.
I actually went through the coursework. This is Stephanie Prater. I went through the coursework and was signed up, but nobody was available to teach class with me in my area. And so I fell out of compliance, I suppose, because I didn't teach a class. So I'm technically not one anymore.
I saw that. I actually have notes on everybody's activity.
Okay, so Stephanie, Everett, Dale.
This is
Anybody
Cindy.
else? Cindy.
I'm on the firing line.
Oh, you're gonna get fired?
Yeah, exactly.
How
Ditto.
come?
They actually sent me an email basically saying you're fired.
Oh, it wasn't that harsh. It was inactivity.
It was harsh. No,
It was harsh. Oh no.
Was it harsh,
Oh, it
Stephanie?
wasn't. It wasn't bad. It was just saying I was out of
Stephanie,
compliance.
I need that. I deserve that hard time. Yeah. So we have
anybody else?
Yeah, Commissioner Beal, this is Craig. I do hunter ed as well.
Okay, so my point in asking that, I want to make sure that this council understands, since hunter education is something we all count on heavily for all the aspects of what we're dealing with obviously safety, number one, but second, relations amongst all parties, landowners, public, and of course, other hunters. So with these course options, does everybody have in their mind clearly what we're offering right now through the state of Montana for hunter education? I just want to make sure we all know what we're doing as far as this topic, that you have a real clear picture. So if you have any questions about what we're doing, we could go back through that just a little bit more with Francis, give a little more fleshing out to what these classes do and how. So let's see, best way to get at that. Who would like to see a little more information right now on what these programs are? Anybody speak up if you do.
Hey, Ed, I think, is this the right time to ask about the future recruiting efforts for the department for instructors?
Maybe not yet.
Okay.
I just want to make sure everybody knows what the in-person classes look like, what age groups. I mean, it's written here, but if you just have any questions about anything within these courses, that's what I want to get at right now, that you completely understand what we're doing at the department level.
There's several hands up.
Okay. Jason, you want to call on whoever?
Yeah, I can do that. Stephanie, go ahead.
I was just wondering, Francis, could you email this slide to us?
You bet. Jason's on
Thank
it.
you,
He
because
was
you can't
actually
see the
pulling that up
additional,
right.
like your screen is being
Yeah, I saw
shared.
that. Yeah, it doesn't. I'm on the screen sharing. Maybe I'll switch views and see if that changes.
Awesome. Thank you. If you could send it out, that'd be great too.
No problem.
Okay.
Donna, go ahead.
Donna.
Yes, I just wanted to thank you all for taking my letter seriously because I feel this is a very serious subject. And I am here to learn about what Francis has to offer to see how we can help educate. And what's amazing about being there at the classes with Francis, I think, we educated, I don't know, 14, 15 students. I think we hit the max, what that may be. But what was astounding was how many parents that were educated that standing on the sidelines, they're going, oh, yeah, I forgot that. Yeah, that's right. Oh, that's something new. So your numbers here where you're educating 11,383 people could probably be times 20 or 30 just in the people on the sidelines that you're teaching safety to. So I have a passion for the importance of this program, and I just wanted to thank you all.
Thanks, Donna.
Cindy.
I just have a question. I've lost the thread on this. The rifle situation, it turned into orange rifles or whatever at one point. We don't use them here in Butte on the firing line, of course, but I was wondering, are we still doing that?
Yes. Yeah, that was about 10 years ago. There was a series of, that's actually one of the challenges we have in here is policy. So we can come back, we'll circle back to that one a little bit later here, Cindy. That's a great question though. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Greg. Craig.
Yeah, Commissioner Beal, Francis, thank you for this, and thanks for everyone in the agency that keeps the volunteers cranking away. Just real quick, and I talked to Donna about this back in Great Falls last year, I think, the venue thing, especially with the field stuff. I think with the Montana Conservation Society and our Next Level Hunter Camp stuff, Francis, we'd love to be able to come alongside you and help with the venue thing. We have a connection to a bunch of landowners that we may be able to, focus on places that you're having difficulty running that. So just wanted to offer that up.
Thanks, Greg. I can do a brief overview of content if no one has questions, but I can do a brief.
Stephanie, is your hand up from before, or do you have that question?
Yeah,
okay, yep, that it. Yep. Okay. So one thing I want to throw in there, and I don't know, you had offered some numbers on the hunter apprentice.
Yeah.
So why don't you go ahead and share that with us, some of the numbers there and your thoughts on that within this whole course option.
Okay.
I know it's not an option per se.
Yeah.
But it leads up to this.
Sure. So the apprentice, the youth hunt, the apprentice hunt it's considered a youth hunt, but it's not. It's for any age, right? And it's a 2-year program. People can jump in as early as age 10. And our Hunter Ed, that's why we offer that at age 10, starting there. So in the last, 5 years, we just looked at the numbers, and it's grown in the thousands to, in 2025, there are about 5,500 apprentice hunters in the state of Montana, which is shocking, which is really awesome for us. Yeah. So in 2021, 4,500, 2022, roughly around 4,500, 2023, 4,600, 2024, 5,300 students. I'm going through quick. We'll get these numbers out to you as well at the end. And then 2025, I was wrong. It was 5,794. But that also included about 30 or so trapping apprentice. So that's incredible numbers for us.
Yeah, and so when Francis had mentioned that to me earlier, it struck me as, this is where you have typically younger hunters.
Yes.
But yeah, there are adult hunters in this, right? Do you have any kind of What's up to 17?
Yeah.
Okay.
Trappers any age. Sorry. That's
Okay.
why I was deleting it. Trapper can be any age.
But I mean, it's a highly successful program. And I, for one, when it first started, was really concerned about how that would go. As Francis refers to, a lot of the gray-haired people were concerned about somebody hunting before they had hunter education.
Yeah.
But in fact, this meets a demand that is greater than hunter education.
Yeah.
So are you seeing most of those continue on to hunter ed, or is there a dropout rate that's pretty high?
So the apprentice is it's kind of, well, we have a funnel in our education systems. We had a funnel, and the narrow mouth, or the narrow part of the funnel that goes in, is our education courses for trapper ed, bow hunter ed, hunter ed. And so students get caught in that funnel, whether it's availability of classes, whether it's ages, whatever it is. And we can specifically go through each one. And what the apprentice does for trapper ed and hunter ed is widen the mouth of the funnel. So those kids who can't get into a course based on whatever, or anybody who can't get into a course based on whatever it is, availability, whatever, I keep saying whatever, but number one is availability of classes, right? That fits the schedule of the students that are there. One of our challenges is our students are now all pro athletes. They're doing full-time sports all year round. There's no gap. I just got an email yesterday about a religious, because we hold classes on Sundays. So there's a myriad of things. But what the apprentice did was widen the funnel. It fix the ultimate issue of the narrowing down to the course. So anecdotally, those people who are doing the apprentice are, to me, and from my perspective, sitting in this chair and position for 2 years, and are our lifelong careers. They're invested. And I actually think that the amount of time that you spend in the apprentice is a lot. And there's a lot of rules that come to that. You have to be within a certain distance and with a mentor and a series of things like that. And anecdotally for me too, it's pre-technology. 10-year-old is not running around with an iPhone 17 plus in their pocket usually. So we're catching them at that early age and getting them the field experience that goes along. And then if they can get into a course, it's just a quadruple dip. So.
Yeah, so theoretically, I mean, if you have 4,000 or 5,000 coming along in those years, you should be seeing that as potential recruitment.
Yeah.
If you can field all those classes, to get them through hunter ed.
Yeah.
Do you think that's an issue? Is it?
Yeah, it's one of our challenges.
Reality number, or is it anecdotal?
I think it's reality. I think if you asked the regional combat managers, Mark Cloakers, the Marlas, yes, like when we're telling people when they sign up, our front office is telling, you can get into a class as early as 10. The earlier you start, the better off you get a chance, because then it gives you a couple of years to get into an educational course. So yeah, I think I think if we sat down and ran some metrics on it, it wouldn't be anecdotal.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted you guys to hear that, because it's a big number. And I mean, I think if you heard what Francis was getting at, recruitment for hunting is an issue to be concerned about and to be aware of. And this has obviously become a great tool to do that. And then it leads naturally into the other process of education. So
as far as hunter behavior too, I think that one could argue those students that are doing the apprentice behave better, because there's more time in the field, they're spending more activity, they're getting that chance more, and their mentors invested. It's like this culture of family around hunting, which is what we're trying to do, right? So, okay, yeah, great questions. I like it.
Jason, if anybody has questions, just pop your hand up, and Jason will get you. Donna.
Yes, if you had 57,000, almost 58 apprentice, but only around 11,000, and that includes the trappers and the bow hunters, take the class, that's a huge difference. And people lost somewhere in the system between apprentice and actual course taking. And to me, that gap is where we'd have that opportunity to promote the classes. Yeah,
Donna, you're right. So what part of my job is identifying the gaps, and where are they and what are they? I think a large part of what we do is culturally. Montana is we actually do very strong for the West, right? You hear national numbers around hunters. Recruitment in the East is at all-time low, right? New hunters coming in is at all-time low. But Montana has this blurb of staying really healthy. Now, the question I have that I sit and think about is, you know, at ages 10 and 12, they're getting in. We have a lot of 12-year-olds. And I think that a lot of it is their parents are bringing in, they're hoping they're going to get into a course and get interested in hunting. And what we've seen, and I'll speak for the hunter ed instructors and bow hunter ed instructors in the room, forgive me, but those kids that are coming in are actually, this is their first experience in hunting, right? When in our live fires, it's shocking how many kids this is the first time that they shoot a gun. Like that's to me, that means our culture is struggling. And that is a really good measurement tool of, you know, the challenges we're going to have to come is if hunting's 5th on the popularity list for students, how do we then address that? And that's a cultural thing, and it comes with parents. So Donna's not wrong. I do brag a little bit, just for numbers references wise, our field day for online is new. Started in January 1st of 2024. I started November 27th of 2023. So within a month, I had to have this program up and running, and we didn't do a very good job on it. And that's for a myriad of reasons, but we can go through those. But yeah, Donna, we're missing that group of kids from that. I think with the changes of course content, our students don't know. I think our students don't know the courses that we offer, where we offer them, and how we offer them. I think there's a job we can do for communication that we've been changing. And we just saw a press release go out from Billings where they're saying the courses offered, how they're offered, and things like that. We're trying to do a better job on communication to parents as well. So yeah, the stopgap is availability. That's our number one issue, is availability of courses. That's the number one. Craig's got that question.
Yeah, go ahead, Lee.
This is actually Mark Cloker,
Hey, Mark.
ComEd manager. So just wanted to kind of clarify for folks that maybe don't fully understand it. Some of those numbers, like the 5,500 and apprentice hunters, some of those have taken hunter education. In other words, they could take hunter education at age 10, but they still have to hunt as an apprentice at age 10 and 11 before the year they turn 12. So there's a little bit of overlap there, just to kind of clarify that some of those 5,500 have taken hunter education already.
Yep. Thanks, Mark. Go ahead, Craig.
Yeah, just a quick question, Francis, or those in the department. Do you have an understanding of when we're talking about numbers and the decline? Is it more of a, hey, they're just more busier and just less interest, or is it more of a demographic thing? I mean, is there any research or studies that have kind of helped you understand, you know, what's happening?
Yeah, it's a combo. It's a mixture of all three. So, and I should keep good data on this, but I haven't had time. So in the last 2 years, I've taught 700 students a field day for online myself. I'm teaching about 30% of the field day for online courses across the state. So I've taught 700 students, and I ask every parent when they come in, what brought you here? And the number one is we couldn't find a course in our area that fit our calendar. And in most of the our hunter ed has always been taught generally in the spring, a lion's share of our hunter ed, with a large portion in that August, September month. But that's when school starts. Parents are crazy busy with athletics at the peak there. And so I would argue it's almost not anecdotal. If I'm getting 30% of students and they're telling me it's availability. Now for our in-person, it's similar. There is still a huge culture in the state of Montana for in-person hunter ed course. It showed in our post-COVID numbers, right? When we went away from all virtual and got back into the in-person, we did very well. It's because parents do understand that. But there is a large portion of parents who want a availability of course options. So yeah, great question, Craig. It's all three. I think I always say anecdotally, I taught middle school for 8 years, and the number of kids who hunted in there is lower and lower every year. The number of kids who are interested in it are lower and lower every year. So yeah, it's all three. It's a combo, but Mary's culture, it's family, it's time, I say at the Hunter Ed workshops, my dad's 70, was kind of the last generation to work in the summer and pay for a year of college. It's our last generation of people that could potentially have done that. So now it's dual houses, both parents working, and then coming home and they're chauffeurs for the evening. So it's a culture battle of where they want to spend their time. I do have some other anecdotal. I think parents are using a lot of like adults. I was saying this at our workshop this weekend. My wife drew a bull tag this year, and we hunted a lot, and I didn't see one youth in the field. And so when I ask people, why are you not bringing? I think also it's an escape for adults. It's a time away from family. It's a time away from responsibility as well. Those are all anecdotal, but I think there's some evidence to that being somewhat true. So. Yeah, I think all of the above, Craig, if I could put a finger on it.
No, I
those of us.
I would
Yeah,
offer
go ahead,
up,
sorry.
Francis, just my time at the Darby check station and others, I was always wondering where the kids were.
Yeah, is that
blown away at the lack of youth coming through those check stations. So anyway,
Yeah.
appreciate your answer. Yeah.
Yeah, Craig, I am shocked by those numbers too.
And I think, Craig, looking back at when the Hunter Mentors Apprenticeship Program was created, it came through some national organizations into the legislature for that specific reason of recruitment and the cultural realities with people's time and understanding of hunting and understanding of firearms. And I know there was some blowback when it started, but I do believe it's true that and in my business, I certainly see it. You can see parents, or maybe it's an uncle or a grandpa or grandma or whoever, are taking more of that opportunity to mentor or nurture their young person into this lifestyle that we all live here for. So I think it's definitely changed a lot. And maybe this just shows we need to focus a little more on this as an intro in that communication aspect of hunting and hunting education, and then the steps going forward in Montana.
Yeah. If I could circle back to the recruitment question from Everett as well, if this is a good time for everybody. I currently run reports out of my office, and sitting in this room, I think Dale Tribby taught the most. Is that because you're retired, Dale?
Hey, what else does he have to do in Miles City?
And our number one, some 80% of our instructors volunteer one time a year for a maximum of 3 hours. That's it. So when I run the pages, I get over and over, page and page again of one time. There are currently there's sub 10 instructors across the region who teach more than 5 times. So you're looking at this availability of instructor issue all the way around. So how do we recruit people to have them do? And so I sat in on the Great Falls instructor workshop, and there were 3 new instructors in there, all from Maelstrom, and they do a 2-week course for Hunter Ed. And when they were overviewing it, the new instructors all looked and said, I can give you 1 night. So there's this issue of availability for instructors across. Now, in that same tone, in an in-person class, we get a raise in instructors who want to volunteer for a field day, because that's where the rubber hits the road. It's more action. It's not going through a manual, et cetera. So as far as the recruitment question, we've set records in the last 2 years. Shelly, our program assistant, runs out of Helena here with me, got 3 more applications on our desk in the last 2 days. So we are recruiting a lot of new instructors. Our goal is to recruit them, bring them in, and help them get the structure and outline and training they need to go out and lead a course themselves. But we have a little bit of tribalism inside there that we need to attend to as well. So I would argue that I've changed my mindset on recruiting new instructors, and we're going to focus more going 2026 into 27 and into the future, training new instructors, providing them the opportunity to get trained in how to do that. And we have a lot of new young instructors who want and are craving that. So I think if we could gather in those people and start training, it'd be really awesome. And we'll have hopefully an influx of people leading throughout. And there will be some taking away from students from the traditional courses that are offered throughout the year. But I think that's the goal is to help these students get out and into the field and safe while doing it. So I am not going to remove myself or our goal from the team to recruit new instructors. Region 1's doing that currently. They're doing some good stuff around bow hunter ed, but we got to train them. We have to have the capacity to train them too. So does that help, Everett?
Yeah, thanks, Francis.
You bet. Everett, I think you're on your 2-year mark too, buddy.
Yeah, I am. It's on my mind. I'll get there. I promise.
No worries. And so this is actually a good question. What can we do? What can happen from my desk, from Region 2's office to help you get initiated? Is it setting it up in the technology portion of it? Is it finding venues, places, staff time? What is it from us that we could do? That's my turnaround.
Yeah.
My Uno boost.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Honestly, it's just my life circumstances that has prevented it from me, right? So I usually teach in April, which is when it works best for my venue and my own personal schedule. And last year it just didn't, I couldn't make it work. So, but it's definitely, I think I'm going up 12 or so years now. I mean, it's not something I want to quit doing, for sure. So,
can I ask, do you have kids?
No.
Like a young family?
No.
So that's our constant new instructor is time wise for them too. So,
Any other comment in that regard? Dale never answered. How come he's top on the list? How do you approach hunter ed, Dale, in your mind?
We have a great cadre in Miles City, and that's so helpful. Getting people to teach classes in the tenure I've been involved has not been an issue. I would agree with Francis. We have some of those people that if they didn't have to get up in front of the classroom ever, they'd love it and just deal with the field class. We have our strengths as the instructors. We have people that are really good with firearms and gun safety. We have other people that really gravitate towards hunter ethics, landowner respect, land respect. And we just don't have a lot of issue right now in terms of getting people to teach the different sections. The one thing I would say when it comes to field classes, a couple of years ago, with the support of the people in Miles City, we'd had some noise from some of the public saying, geez, I'd really like to get my kid into a field day. They took the online class, and I'd like them to get the field session in the fall so they could go out and hunt deer and elk. And so with the help of the folks in Region 7, we put together a field day class, and it was extremely poorly attended. I was very surprised. We had a couple of people said, yeah, we're going to be there. And for whatever reason, they backed out. And I think we either had 2 or 3 kids. One was from the Sydney area, and I think the other 2 were from the Billings area. And that was what we had. It kind of said, you know what? We put it out there. We advertised it. There really just wasn't a lot of interest at that time of the year. So I don't really see Region 7 going back to a fall field day just because we gave it a try and it didn't go forward.
Well, thanks, Dale. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head with a lot of that there. I actually found the exact opposite for field days. I can't put on enough of them in the fall. I was actually in Webo, Dale. I don't know if you knew this. we had one of our issues was, so we had a parent out in Weibo who was looking for an in-person class, and they offered out a Weibo, but they didn't know when. And so it was hard to get a time. And so they did the online option. When they finished the online course, they got the in-person course open. So they went to sign up, and they were actually, there's some rumor mill. I'm trying to figure out how true it is or not, but they were refused service in the in-person class because they took the online course. And some of the comments that were made from our population was, well, you're going to know the answers to the test, so we're not going to allow you in. So they called me and said, what's our options? So I traveled out to Weibo. I met him in Glendive, and I taught at Makoshka, and I had a 25 plus student class out of Makoshka State Park, and ran it myself. So we have a lot of issues around availability there, I think, that are larger than Miles City does a really great job. They actually are the strongest part of that region for a good reason. So, yeah.
So Francis, as you're talking that through, so what came to my mind is just this human reality. If hunting season starts tomorrow, we want the class now.
Yeah.
And in the spring and summer, as you've noted, people are really busy doing every sport that's known to the United States of America, plus vacations and summer activities. But I think that's a challenge, because once you get to, how you recruit hunters that want to teach hunter education that need to teach it during hunting season.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just what I heard you saying is, we can't find it anywhere, but we're only looking right in front of the season. And they really don't want to take it the last part of August because they're getting ready for school.
Yeah.
So, how do you bridge that gap?
Oh man, COVID opened up I want it and I want it now. Right. So, and when I want it. So what I did is we offer a myriad. I teach midday out of Helena in our archery range for our field days for 2 weeks in August into October. And those classes are full every time. And I have a 10 student wait list, and they're not from Helena. They're from everywhere else. So,
when I was regularly teaching bow hunter ed, we had plenty of people signed up to do it. Got lots of people from outside of Helena. I would say half the course, whether it was a full in-class course or a field days, were probably 80% out of Helena. Outside of Helena.
Yeah.
Bozeman.
Those are the numbers that tracks for the numbers. Yeah. Every class I teach, there's only.
So clearly one of the challenges is how to have classes set in advance for each region to try to fulfill those. And so do you still use county chiefs?
Yes and no. Some do, some don't. Most of them, like our urban areas, Kalispell still uses their county chief. Great Falls, Billings. That's about it for all I know. There's some out there, but I don't know how active and engaged they are.
So why would we use county chiefs? Or why would we let that go away?
Yeah, well, county.
I don't know.
So just a little history. County chiefs are usually because so this is a lot. And if I get a little bit wrong, Mark, Marla, and whoever's on there from the comment department, jump in at any time. So in previous, we don't have an educational person in the region. Mark Cloker for Region 6 is only a part-time education person, right? So he has an allotted percentage of time to spend in hunter ed. And Mark actually teaches. He's one of our most active. Mark's the reason why Region 6 does well is Mark teaches a lot prior. So we have this education person who then manages the instructors for that region. So they get him equipment, they get him all this stuff. And so there were chiefs that were volunteers that helped email, organize, and set up and put in, communicate, met with Mark. So it wasn't a myriad. Those have kind of gone away as the IO information officers in the region have taken more responsibilities and done that. With our ed techs, they will be almost negligibly used as well in as far as the ed techs now is going to help us, manage, equip, and et cetera for those. But previously they've gone away slowly and just haven't been replaced over time. So
just speaking from Lewis and Clark County, and maybe they shouldn't have been county chiefs. They should have been region chiefs.
Yeah.
It kind of confuses the line a little bit, but we've had very active county chiefs.
Yep.
And so in my experience, you use COVID as the dividing line, and I would agree with that. But up till that point in time, county chiefs were extremely active in getting classes set up and instructors organized, recruiting the instructors to do 3 or 5 classes. And then that kind of just went away. And I think probably because it was informal. County chiefs are volunteers. And they get burned out.
Burnout is
they have
huge.
health issues, whatever the case might be.
Yeah.
So are your region, you have 7 new team members. Is that going to be part of their job description? The goal is this organization to get in front of instructors, gather the instructors, and get it rolling.
It is.
And when does that begin?
It's already began. It's
Okay.
already happening. They're already in the field, moving, shaking, sending emails out, gathering. We just don't have one for Region Helena. So your county, your county chief for your example, bow hunter Ed's me. And so what did I do this year? I looked out, and here's the schedule I can teach bow hunter Ed. So here it is. Come or don't come. So
I'm curious with the other folks in the other regions that are on this Zoom from FWP. Do you have any comment, input into that in your regions, how you're working that part right now? And I don't remember who's there in those roles, maybe.
Hey, this is Mark Cloker, the ComEd manager in Glasgow. We were just kind of chatting as you were talking there. We've kind of phased out and or didn't really use the county chief type help, partially because almost our counties are so rural. Oftentimes there's only one town in each county that even holds a class or classes. And so they kind of by de facto become the county chief / lead instructor / one of the instructors of their particular community. So that hasn't really been an issue, at least in Region 6.
similar for Region 7. Region 3, Bozeman has a county chief. They just got a new one. The old one left, who was very active. The new one's still pretty active and getting engaged and caught up on how to speak too. So
So how do you foresee, and I think this is pretty critical to each region's effectiveness with whatever cadre of instructors they have. How do you institutionalize what you're going to do going forward and communicate that in each region?
Same way we would train, get them in.
But I mean, just communicating to
the
I'm
basic
coming back
public.
to just my experience in Helena.
Yeah.
So when Lane retired and Bob took over and Bob retired, then boom, and you came in new 2 years. So how does that get communicated to the instructors? Like in your case, you're it. And I think that's maybe why we're a little
communication.
You had to run all over the state and figure this out.
So for me, that would be just better communication from us, more consistent. That'd be easy. That's an easy lift for us.
Okay.
Yeah. That's a good one. We've gotten a little bit off track. That's all right. Challenges, continuing the program challenges. 2024, the big year for the field day for online. This is the one Donna was referring to, is our capacity to, if we change the program, do we have the capacity to teach to it? And the answer was no. Universally no. So, and it came from a series of things. I was brand new going into this. And so I was really new to the Hunter Ed world. And when I say Hunter Ed, I'm incorporating all 3 educational programs. And so we went out to instructors and said, please teach field days, without a structured outline and without really me understanding how instructors felt on it. And I got kind of punched in the mouth to say, we went out there, instructors universally disagree with online, the online education. They feel pretty passionate about it. And so when we implemented this, it wasn't like it was scooped up and ran with very well, nor did we have the tools to help instructors go out there and do that with it either. So what I started doing was teaching a lot of field days and coming up with structured outlines for what I felt field days should look like. And I taught a lot. I studied like I was in college and got out and got my boots on the ground. And then in the 24, we are missing about a third of students, which is the same availability into field days, right? So kids who took the online, there were about 900 students who took online only, or sorry, the online portion of it. And then we only reached, just a little over 500. So it was a challenge of ours going into 2024. Parents didn't know about it. They felt like it was an option for them to not, if they couldn't make it in person, so they could do it online, but then we had the availability of getting it. One of the solutions that I did was I actually put a lot of responsibility back on parents. If I got a phone call, for example, from the Weebos, from whatever, I said, say again, Townsend, yeah. I put it back on them and parents, and I said, okay, you have better connections to the school, you have better connections with Lando, you have better connections with et cetera. I said, you go out, you drum up the kids, find a minimum of 10 kids for me to come out and teach, and you find the place, I'll set up the online portion of it. And that actually was a very viable solution for me. So I did travel a lot and I got out there. I was asking instructors to teach it at first, and then I have stopped asking instructors to teach field days. We're just going to train some staff to help meet that need, and also some new instructors who are interested in those. So 2024 is a bit of a frustrating year start into it. I continue to teach about 30% because we just don't have the capacity to teach them. Now, are some regions picking them up? Region 2, Missoula, there's a young group of instructors out of Region 2, and they said, if you're saying this is the changes to the program, we want to teach it, we want help teaching it. So I've gone and taught with them a lot and run structured outlines for them of how I do it, and encouraged instructors to give me feedback because I'm not perfect. So it was a solution moving forward. And so in 2025, last year, we did about 1,100 students did online, and we taught a majority of those. The problem being, I'm teaching a lot of those. So how can I be a better administrator of the program and teach less? Well, that's a challenge for me to figure out, and the techs are going to help with training and et cetera. But I am enjoying the teaching part of the most. So I'm very selfish of that in general. So we have clear data coming out from the field day for online students, 1,400 students, and we got to 1,200 of them, which is awesome. Between the 2 years, we're missing about 700 students, which is what Donna's focus is. So how do we gain those? Now, this is no different. There's very little difference between the in-person. For years, students missed the in-person class. That was it. That's their one opportunity. And our solution to that was, well, you better get in earlier next year. And so to me, I can see a couple issues with that. If, like I presume, our student numbers who are going to continue to hunt are going to get lower. So if we put off the inevitable and not get them into a class, and I'm not talking rapid-based, stamp them, get them through the hunter ed program, that I'm talking about teaching them how to hunt safely. Or handle guns safely is our priority, right? So we have to get our hands on them in a sense. And the better luck next year, what are the odds of those kids really actively engaged in finding and getting into a course? I think we're going to lose them. So that's been that. Those are the issues around that in the last 2 years, predominantly for me. We have some other challenges in that as well. We have a policy compliance issue around instructors. We have we struggle with course content, right? I couldn't tell you. There's a manual with standards, objectives, and et cetera, but I don't know, because we haven't trained very well. So I don't know how that's being implemented in the field in the way that I would feel confident that is the compliancy part. And a lot of that's liability. So it's a hard, difficult world to run around the liability issues. For example, last year we had an instructor bring their own live bear spray to a field day event, and it fell out of his harness. The safety fell off, it went off and sprayed a kid. So those are the type of things that we change policy for to ensure student safety. And we have to make sure those things don't happen. but they're continuing to happen based on a preference of this is how I think to teach this best. So that's a struggle for us as an agency, and it's always been a struggle. We've had our course reviewed by the International Hunting Education Association. They used to do audits, and they would bring in other coordinators from around the country, and they would audit our programs. And I have several of those results, and it's predominantly we do what we want when we want it, how we want it, and it's been a struggle for us. So.
I'm sorry, Francis.
That's a compliment.
They don't do that anymore.
The IHEA does not do that anymore. I've pushed that talk a little bit. It would help us kind of guide some structural stuff. We agree through AFWA to teach certain standards around hunter ed, bow hunter ed for reciprocity. And so it would be, they stopped offering it in the mid 2000s.
Was it a staff issue?
I wonder. I don't know.
It was a financial issue.
Oh, it's financial issue.
Yeah, that and oftentimes the capacity from other states coming to your state to review your program left less than implemented results.
Yeah.
So oftentimes states didn't like other states telling them how to do their business.
Yeah.
And it resulted in no activity. But the primary one was the financial piece of it, the driver for the cost. And I previous life, that's why.
Yeah.
What's the timeline of that going away?
Well, I think we even had some peer reviews even in the 2010s.
Oh, yeah. Our last one was 2006.
Yeah, that might have been the last one.
Yeah.
Yeah, peer reviews are a good thing.
Yeah, it was good. I was shocked because it's the same issues we're currently having now of safety compliance. We're not very far away from instructors bringing their own guns and having them go off in classes. You know, that timeline's not very far away from us in our history. So
what is there a standard for, in the context of reciprocity, is there another state's look at another state?
Yeah.
What's the evaluation point there then?
So when they get time and have the ability to look at other states' curriculum, currently right now the IHEA is reviewing our in-person manuals, our student manuals, to see if they meet the reciprocity things.
So the manual is the
guide.
Item.
Yep, the manual is the how we stick to our objectives and meeting the requirements for reciprocity. Online is different too. The IHEA reviewed those, and so every online course provider has to meet the minimum standards and objectives to be taught for reciprocity. Yeah.
Right.
Thank you. Question, Francis, when you talk about these evaluations of programs, when you line up the states, just curious if there is a state that stands out as a gold standard. I mean, is Montana one of those? Kind of in your understanding, where do we rank, with other states?
Every state thinks they're the best. Yeah, it's actually a good so as far as I would say, as far as course content, our manuals are all very similar across the nation, right? They should be, and they are. As far as how things are done in their education classrooms, it's a wide variety across every state, right? For example, Alaska does no in-person only. It's only hybrid. They do an 8-hour online course, and then they do a 4-hour field day for hunter, bow hunter, and muzzleloader. And so it's a myriad. I don't think I'd have the ability to say which state follows it. And one could argue that you could look at your incident reports and like how many incidents you have, but that is null and void. I did a workshop over the weekend here in town, and it's 99.9% of our incidents across the nation are people who've taken, as firearm incidents, just to be clear, are people who have done in person, and especially for the state of Montana.
And their age.
And their age is 45 and up. So it is adults who are complacent, who are having incidents. So it is quite a shocking number. We have had a youth, but it was bird hunting, and I talk about this often. That is one of the scariest things for youth to do. You are walking around with a loaded gun, a shell in the chamber, ready to go. And it's hard, and that takes a lot of experience doing that. And is that the job of Hunter Ed, is to provide that experience, or is it provide the tools to be safe in that class? So those are good questions. Yeah, great questions. So Craig, I don't know that's a very political answer. I would say we all think we do really well. For example, one of the things that our Hunter Ed is, we put the word always in front of the 4 rules of firearm safety. And then that has our instructors argue, well, we're the best at doing that. Well, we could be educationally, that makes us the best at remembering the word always, not as the 4 rules. So it depends on, I'm a little bit cursed in my job because from a classroom teacher, I know how to teach this information well. So getting and translating that to, like Dale said, everybody has their forte. Everybody has their forte. And so I'm a little bit, have a leg up in teaching that, but how do I get instructors to gain that? So yeah, good question, Craig.
You have to follow up, Craig?
I just appreciate the answer. I'm just curious, and I appreciate the fact that you feel strongly about the state program, Francis.
Oh, I hope it shows. People always say, I care a lot. I care about, so.
I mean, I think clearly in this whole discussion with Hunter Education, we're relying on IHEA to set the standard, and us to teach to that standard. That's
it causes me gray hair.
The reality of it.
Yeah. I'm on the curriculum board for them, which is a good appointment. I was on several curriculum teams over my educational career. So I'm now on that curriculum and we're reviewing the standards to making sure they're up to date. But the problem we have is, I would say we do poor on training new instructors on that curriculum. What's our objectives? What is we call them priority objectives in the education world? What are the standards and objectives that need to get taught in your class? And everything else is called the supplementing. So if you have time and can get to it. The other states do, like Wyoming does instructor trainings or academies twice a year in several different regions around the state based on the number of new instructors they get. And before you teach, you have to go to an instructor academy, and it's a 2-day course. And you go in as a student at the start, and then you come out as an instructor. So then you teach the course to the instructors. And there's just a lot we could be doing. Now, we haven't had the capacity to do that. And I would like to have the capacity before we start implementing out and doing those kind of things. And also that is fiscally, that's a financial burden to do an academy. It takes a lot of money to do those. I think that's a alternative we want and would be helpful for us. So where the investment.
Yeah. Sure. But do you have the sense, is there any evidence that we've got an academy, a very overt known opportunity to become proficient? Does Wyoming have a sense that enhances their recruitment of instructors?
Yes, they do. Yeah. Their instructor activity and retaining is higher because they are better trained. They provide a better opportunity. And in order to get to their instructors that have committed and go to those trainings are going to teach, because that's an investment in itself, right? To lose a weekend out of the year to go in and do that. So yeah, absolutely. We've done that similarly in our Trapper Ed. We've done 2 academies for our Trapper Ed programs. And the goal in doing those academies was to train instructors not only to teach content during the course, but to provide the opportunity for them to feel comfortable to lead their own classes throughout the regions. But that hasn't happened. So Trapper Ed's been a little bit interesting.
So to Quentin's asking your point, it just occurs again at this point in time for Montana. I think that we're at this sort of dividing point of time and customer need.
Yeah.
And so that academy looks different. Like the last one I went to was here, I don't know how many years ago. And what's changed really is the online component, which doesn't matter. That's where it's at, and then the field day. So maybe that needs to be, I mean, it isn't that what preceded is bad. It's just that it's changed.
It's changed. Yeah.
And I think you have different needs today than you did 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Both in recruiting or training instructors and meeting the needs of future hunters.
Yep.
So maybe that should be a focus at this point with those objectives.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because I think we're doing that when we come to a regional training.
Yes.
And it's probably more informational than training at the moment.
Yeah. Yep. So good. This is our last year of this structure for that format of our workshops. They're going to be a celebration and a luncheon. We're here to celebrate you, provide good stuff, give some programmatical things. It is the one time that we can do that and do that to a large group member. But yeah, we're going to do better on those type of academy trainings. And it can't be. This is also an additional challenge for me, is inherently a group of people, our instructors. There's a lot of positivity. There's a lot of good open hearts in there that want to teach students, but there has been a generational us versus them mentality from the agency and instructors and vice versa. And so I'm trying to bridge that gap, but it was shocking to me coming into a program and seeing you stay in your lane, FWP, we'll stay in our lane type deal. And that's fair with everything. But it's shocking to me. And it's actually really exclusive for new instructors. It creates there's a really high turnover of new instructors who go out, watch their 5 hours of observations and never come back. And it's a shocking number. And there's some regions that are tougher than others. But yeah, it's an interesting dynamic.
Everett.
Francis, have you explored how Washington State gives limited entry permits or points to instructors in that pool and how that might aid recruitment or retention?
Yes, we're currently reviewing what every state does as far as an award system and or rewarding instructors for a myriad of things. We have a committee right now working on gathering information on what other states do. Yeah, Washington's one of them. California is another one. Texas is another one that does a really good job. They have a instructor hall of fame, and so their whole system's based on hours. So the amount of hours that you're active and engaged earns you points for, similar to bonus points or preference points, and or it gives you access to certain properties. There's a myriad of things other states do. Yeah, we're looking at all those. Yeah, it's a great question. And we're currently doing it, which is fun. So.
Craig, did you have a question or a comment? Your hand was up for a bit, but.
Yeah, Chairman Beal, thanks. You kind of addressed it already, Francis, but I was just curious. I didn't realize I guess you talked about some tribalism or turf situations, not so much with instructors and the agency, but actually instructors amongst themselves. And I was just curious, it just seems like that's the last thing we need is barriers within the instruction part of it. Just curious if you want to speak to that and maybe how you're trying to address that as well. It's news to me. I wasn't aware of that.
I've had myriad of meetings since I started about this topic of new instructors coming in, and if there's this new idea or a change in ideas, and then they don't get a call back to come in. Now I would credit that if they're deviating from course content or the objectives of the course, that's fair. But it's a difficult thing to address for us because I always hear it third person. Does that make sense? And so if I was to go out and observe and see these type of things, it would be different and I could address it in a better way. But I don't. Do you have a good solution, Craig? Let me reverse you on that. It's been really hard to have these meetings with instructors and then come out and make me aware. And I've actually seen it in person and addressed it to the lead. And so I've addressed it to leads, not county chiefs, because there's more leads than there is county chiefs. If we get new instructors, we really have to help get them in there. One of the things I have done is instead of sending that instructor out as their primary contact to the lead instructor from that region, is to send them to the ed techs and the IOs, and that be the initial welcoming into it and bringing the leads in there and having a little more structure around that, which several of the IOs have done with great success. So yeah, Region 2, where you're at, Craig, has a lower amount of this.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And when I hear you talk about some of the academies and that kind of thing, it seems like maybe that's also a way to break some of that stuff down. But I'm unique in the sense, Francis, that I kind of have my own program at the ranch. And so I have instructors and co-instructors come and help, but I'm not really interacting with a lot of the other regional instructors. So I probably, anyway, that's probably why I didn't really realize it was a big issue, but I appreciate the response. Thank you.
So Craig, are you following all the policies?
Well, I am. And so what we've done, Ed, is actually work the field day into the course. And so they all leave with having everything they need once they leave the door. And so that's kind of been our program. Then they get a chance to hunt the ranch when they graduate. So that's been a good deal. But what I've seen is classes that were overflowing and we had to turn people away to the last few years, having a difficult time getting anybody to sign up. And I'm just, it could be me. Maybe I'm just a poor instructor, but it could be also.
What's your course outline?
The online stuff. Excuse me.
What's your course outline? How many days?
We have 4 days. Usually have it in August, which is tough. It hadn't been, but now it's getting tough with youth, in sports, preschool sports, and our sports, beginning ahead of the actual school calendar. So, but yeah, and the other part of it, if I just have a chance, is I think there was a long period of time when an opportunity at an antlerless elk was a huge deal for a youth, and I'm actually kind of blown away at maybe the lack of interest in that opportunity compared to years ago. There's just been some changes that have been. I've actually been putting more time in these next level hunter opportunities, actually, Francis, than just because of it seems like maybe it's something that has run its course, but we can talk about that after the meeting.
Sure. You bet. I'd love to discuss that. You see the online only adults, their numbers. I think you're not wrong in deviating a little bit.
Yep. Yeah. Paul, did you have a question or comment? You had your hand up for a second.
You're muted if you're talking, Paul.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, I did. I was curious to see, this was more for recruitment, but it was more what Arizona does down there. They give an extra bonus point for all species if they take the hunter ed class. Have you guys looked into that at all, or are we trying to? That's more for.
Is that Paul? Is that for the hunter ed class, or is that for their land stewardship class? Is it for both? I didn't know.
They give one bonus point for every species if you take the hunter ed class.
Wow, I did not know that. That's news to me. Yeah.
And there's one bonus point given for every, and this is a lifetime bonus point. And it's given to everybody that takes the stewardship course, I guess the hunter etiquette course, I guess they call it. Ethic
with Arizona in a couple of weeks, and I'll talk to him about it.
I didn't know if we wanted to, look at that for something. I didn't, just bringing it up.
I like it.
Everett, your hand is still up. You have other comments? Good. Okay.
How am I doing on time? Doing all right? Okay. So just touching base on we're good on the compliance around. Just a little history and backstory is when we went to like background checks with the option of, Idaho, every instructor has a fingerprint. They fingerprint their instructors. There's been an accountability of that. So we lost about a third of instructors when we implemented background checks, and there was this talk of doing fingerprinting, which we haven't done yet. But then COVID, when we went to online only, we did lose about a third of our active instructors. So the online has been a really big, it crashed us, and the people who are coming back in these meetings and are talking about it are really upset about, you know, the students who do online are their parents taking the course for them, or who's taking it. And they're showing up and they're to a field day and they're saying, you know, well, they know nothing. These students know nothing when they show up. And I've actually tried to change that. If we go into any educational course, class, whatever, and your goal is to prove someone knows nothing, you're going to win. You're going to be successful. And instead, the way I teach it is I don't start quizzing. I don't start asking. And that's more structure on how we do the course. We're inevitably a society that does open-ended questions. What is this? How does this work? I just reteach, retell, then reassess. And students teaching each other. So these are all strategies that I have as a teacher that help me to be successful. And I explain things very simply. And what I've noticed is anecdotally not anecdotal, I'm removing that from my vocabulary. In teaching over 700 students, they're so worried about failing. The first thing they're worried about is that there's going to be another test, in which we have had instructors retest students when they get into a field day for online. And if I know there's some probably still out doing that, I'd like to remove that. But that's not our goal. Our goal is to reteach, hands-on experience, and reassess. And so I don't go with open-ended questions. What is this? Is this a muzzle? Is this an action? Is this the bolt? Is this the safety? I reteach that and do it very well and hammer it. And so if we change that mindset, the culture in society has changed, and it's going to keep changing. And so the field day for online is not going to go away. We're still going to have a hybrid option and better availability. We just have to be able to teach more of it in general. So outside of me teaching, which is, let it be known, I thoroughly enjoy and love that part of my job tremendously. I'd like to see the ed techs get better trained in how to teach these, to better train new instructors for the availability. And the reason why is not because I want to take over from our in-person classes, but as a good intro in for new instructors is the field test. It is that you don't have to memorize a chapter. You don't have to be fluent in the manual. You can come in and we can train you how to do the hands-on portion very easily. And it's a very achievable, low-hanging fruit for us. And it is actually a more joyful experience for those instructors coming in and a potential diving board for going into a deeper level of an in-person class. And so that's the goal of that, is to not take over, but to help them get a better foothold into the program. Diving into the next one is venue shortages. As you guys know, we have Montana's got a really strong culture around firearms and that, but it's changing educationally. A lot of school districts have changed their policies around letting guns in, letting nerds in, et cetera. And for a myriad of reasons, one being liability. So we're running out of places that are free to do it. And we're paying options. We pay to a service fee to an hourly rate at a lot of places across the state. So I think that one of the options that PLPW could help us is get us in communication with landowners, right? We have insurance that covers us as we go out. Do they know that? Those type of deals. Our field days especially are super easy. Ranchers, ranching families. So who's going to teach out at Jason's ranch out there too. Just a great opportunity to do those kind of things. So venues are getting tighter and tighter. Another good example is Montana Wild for us. It's a free public meeting space, but then it's so popular. How do we find other venues? It's a realistic thing. Some people have them. I would like to build a shop and hold Hunter Head out of my shop. Be really nice, but yeah.
Anybody have any comment on venues? Challenges finding venues?
Go ahead, Craig.
Yeah, I just wanted to.
Greg, just a second. We'll let Craig go first, and then Greg can go.
Oh, Craig, I thought you said.
Yeah, Craig or Nick. Sorry, Craig.
Good, Greg. Just a quick one. There's been discussion, I know, over time, over the years, of actually trying to implement Hunter Ed back into the school system. where we at with that? What you're talking about?
That's a great question.
Yeah, just
it's a super easy lift. We have a student manual, right? We have an online option, which is crazy how many kids do online now, like an online option to have it as an elective. Mark Clover up in Region 6 is another outstanding. We have a sheriff who teaches out of Eastern Montana, comes into the school and does hunter ed. Mark's currently in communication with another school district to get it in it. It all depends on your school board. So yes, it's an easier conversation, and I haven't had the capacity to go out and do that as of now, but it is encouraging to know that there's a number of school districts and school boards out there that are looking at this and trying to move that forward. So Craig, there's a lot of opportunity. I haven't had the capacity to get out there and do it though.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, Greg Lemon.
Thanks. Yeah, no, that was what I wanted to mention. We started a conversation yesterday, was the first time we kind of had broke the ice with OPI. And they're going to be visiting with superintendents today, encouraging them to open the schools to hunter ed. And they want to work together on getting more hunter ed instruction in the schools. And, it's an idea that, I've been trying to find a way to get a little more, gain a little ground on over the last few years. And it sounds like with the current leadership at OPI that we might have an avenue. So that's an ongoing conversation, literally trading emails yesterday and this morning about it. So hopefully, that'll happen. We'll find some avenues soon.
So Greg, does that look like it's just in regards to finding venues, or actually some connection with OPI and teaching hunter ed?
So yeah, so the OPI would like to offer their professional development credits, I think is what it's called. Francis would know the terminology, but they would like to offer that to folks who become teachers, who become trained instructors. So, that's one thing I told them that we've starting to have a little more trouble getting schools as just venues. So that was something they're going to bring up with superintendents at their meeting today. And then I told them that we'd like to have the conversation about how to introduce a hunter education type curriculum into the schools. So, so I think all kind of at all three levels. Does that answer the question?
Sure. Thank you.
Sure.
Stephanie.
Is there still talk of combining the bow hunter and hunter education courses?
Wait, is this a trap, Stephanie? Yes. Okay. So I like talking about this topic a lot. A lot of states, universities are seeing low bow hunter ed numbers, and their instructors have not been retaining with their volunteership either as much due to that, right? And we've actually seen that in the state. So we've had this will be a long, short story. We've actually had classes where, like our last Helena class, we had more bow hunter ed instructors than we did students. So we have a little bit of that going on, and we have several places around the state who teach combo courses, and it's an amazingly popular course. The only caveat is a 10-year-old technically can't take bow hunter ed. So we've had to finagle this world of how do we incorporate it. But I do think, contrary to maybe some popular, unpopular mindsets around it, that bow hunters and hunters, this is our number one spot. We should be bringing them together and teaching the differences between the two, instead of alienating them and saying there's a little bit of a mindset that, hunters are awful in either way. So I'm encouraging it. We're currently Nebraska, but Kansas just created a manual. They're the first state to do that, a combo manual, which is super encouraging. And we're going to get our hands on here in a couple weeks and for our meeting and go through that and review how they're doing with that. but yeah, I'm encouraging combos, very much so.
Stephanie, did you have a follow-up on that?
But any follow-up, Stephanie? What do you think?
I don't have any follow-up. I was just curious. Would it be like a combo, or could you still teach them separate, or would it just be a combo would be the only option?
No, multiple options. You could either solely do bow hunter ed, and because we have a lot of it. Well, we have a lot of preferential instructors. Like we have only bow hunter ed instructors and only hunter ed instructors. But we also have a lot of bow hunter and hunter ed instructors. So I'm encouraging just teach. But yeah,
when you have to do both eventually,
you have to do both eventually. So yeah,
and unless you get an archery license in another state. Well, you just had to muddy that, didn't you?
Yeah.
Everett, and then Quinn, did you have a comment too?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll go Everett first and then Quinn.
I was just going to tell you, Steph, I've taught the combo class for 4 years, 5 years, something like that. It's been really successful. So I can chat offline if you want about that.
Awesome. Thanks, Everett.
Okay.
My question is just what a combo class looks like in the context of time delta.
Yeah. We have a myriad of different things. So usually a class is held for 3 hours a night per se. And I don't know what everybody does a little bit different structure, but the guy who's been in most communication with me is actually out of Shoto. It's a husband-wife team, which is fun. And they spend a little bit, because firearm safety is a little bit deeper dynamic. And so they spend it's two-thirds hunter ed, third bow hunter ed. And then they combo the field day. So to me, we're not a how-to hunt. It's not a how to hunt, but it's a how to handle your gun while gun trailing, how to do it safely. But the bow hunter ed is a little bit more of how to read sign and etc. So there's a good dichotomy of how those intermingle. It's been really fun. I don't know if Everett can speak to you. I didn't know Everett did that, so that's encouraging. That you never know.
Yeah, Quentin, there's significant overlap on introductory material. Of course, the bow and rifle handling, that's different, and you have to have the dual instructor, right? So bow hunter certified and regular hunter ed. And I've not found the 10-year-old thing to be an issue, except for the very first year when we did catch that. And Vivica would have to speak to how we handled that because I don't recall because the 10-year-old passed, but he's not old enough. So the crossover though has been really good. I haven't had anything negative about it, and most people are very appreciative just to get both done in that time frame. It adds a little bit of time to a regular hunter ed class, and we've scheduled that out, and I think we do 3 evenings in a field day, or 3 evenings in a Saturday and then the field day. And so over the course of the week, it's good. And then, I bring in different instructors. So each night is not the same cohort, I guess. And there's a little bit of variety there that I think has been helpful because people can get in, teach their part, and then they, don't have to teach the entirety of the program. So that's been helpful too. I think it's been great.
Thank you. I appreciate that detail.
I've taught combo field days and I really love it. That's you get your strong bow hunter students and your strong hunter kids, and it's a good personality mix. All right, I fleshed that out pretty good. You guys have any other outstanding?
So I'm going to go around. You're done?
I think so. Unless, yeah,
because you have time. So I'm going to go around and poll the group. So just going back, give everybody a chance to make a comment or ask a question that's still in your mind. So I'll go around and call on each member. Let's start with Stephanie.
I really appreciate all you did for this presentation. It's been great, super helpful. But no, I don't have anything else. Thank you.
Thanks, Stephanie. Dale.
I too appreciate Francis and the group talking. The one comment I would make that just listening to Francis talk about some of the challenges that he's faced around the state. One of the things that we have in Miles City, or two things we have, like I mentioned before, we have a real strong cadre, but we also have great leadership in the Region 7 office. Caleb and Marla are outstanding, and they are there to help us all the time. And where I could see that could be a challenge in some faraway places, you know, having the venue, it's always in the Fish, Wildlife, and Parks conference room. It's always set up. We always have the stuff that we need. With Caleb and Marla both there, you know, the stuff is stored at Fish, Wildlife, and Parks. And it certainly allows us to focus on the teaching and not so much the setup. And it's a real benefit that we have in Region 7. Thanks.
Thanks, Dale.
Thanks, Dale. Lee?
Got to turn me on. Am I on?
You're on, buddy.
I like the school idea. When I went 60 some years ago, somebody had to drive us into town because we weren't old enough to drive. And I like the school deal, do it like Hunter Ed. And for our little school districts, I think it'd make a lot of sense.
Yeah, Francis had mentioned we got it into the school system there, and they basically just offer it to kids during their normal PE class if they want to take Hunter Ed, and then they sit in that Hunter Ed class while the other kids continue their PE. And so I think Paul Skyberg's the sheriff. He does it over about 5 or 6 weeks, you know, just an hour every other day. So it works really well. And Plentywood Schools is the other school I'm working with to try to get it involved in their schools. So
yeah, I think I never was very good at anything physical anyway. I think I could climb up to the D line on the rope. And so I'd have been for that.
Well, thank you, Lee, and all. Appreciate it. Dave.
Yeah, if I can I make a comment on the content of the hunter education?
Absolutely.
Please, yeah.
I would like to see more emphasis put on making good hunters that aren't entitled, and that was really brought out at the last meeting when we had the landowners there talking. Because man, I really get upset when all we have is drive around hunters. And I think there should be a lot more etiquette taught, especially if they want to hunt on private land.
All right, good. I like it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Craig.
Just quick, this venue conversation reminds me, my grandfather here in Missoula taught hunter ed for 20 or 30 years. Back in the 50s, they actually held it at his house and they shot 22s in his basement. No idea what my grandma thought of that, but you know, it's come a long way since then. Anyway, no, just appreciate your energy and with all of you, Francis, and your group. I appreciate the presentation today. Thank you.
You bet.
Cindy.
I really appreciate the effort that you're making, trying to get it back together. I stepped away to get some water. Did you answer the rifle issue?
Oh, about the orange guns. Oh, no, sorry. Yes. So orange guns, it got implemented about 10 years ago. And we now have a plethora of inerts. Forgive me, remind me of your question again, Cindy. It escaped me, which is not usual.
Well, I was just wondering if they're still using the orange rifles or
Yeah, we're actually trying to get more of those. So Alex will appreciate this in the room. We're trying to reduce the amount of students who bring their own rifles to our field days. It's actually a little bit of history too. I know I have a little bit more time. I was going around, but predominantly Hunter Ed was hundreds of students coming. They do an in-person class and then they come to a field day. And that causes me to sweat tremendously. So the inerts was one of the options to remove that. And we're purchasing more currently to try to get more students with an appropriate sized inert in their hands of a bolt action, the most common action they're going to be using while in the field. So yeah, we're getting a lot more of those. Yeah, and hopefully better running kits as well. So yeah, we're working hard in both those sections. So yes. If you don't have access to, Butte's got a lot, and there's a lot that are inactive right now. So
any follow-up, Cindy?
No follow-up. I was just curious. Thank you.
Thank you. Everett?
Yeah, I don't know that I have a lot to add other than I would like to see more expeditious results from how we're going to reform Hunter Ed in the future. I know since before your time, Francis, we've talked about recruitment, and I mean that's been, gosh, 5 or 6 years I've been chatting about that. So, yeah, I think this is a really critical education component to everything that the department does, and so I don't know if more resources are needed or what, and I don't want you to hear that you are doing a bad job at this, Francis. I'm just saying that it's such a needed thing, and I don't love that people can pop over to Idaho, do something real quick, and then come over here, and then we have no idea. And I know there's a reciprocity, but
would you like to know how many students take the Idaho under the age of 18?
Yeah, go for it.
In 2025, it was 32.
Okay. So I don't love that there's 32 that can go over there and do that and then come over here. And you know, you talk about, you know, rifle handling, and I see the reports of every year, right, of accidents that happen. And I mean, they're all just, I mean, almost every single one are preventable, right? And I want to protect hunting and continue to do that. And so the most robust Hunter Ed program we can do with instructor recruitment, with the content that's in there, with incentives to do whatever. I think you know, whatever we can do to facilitate that, and again, get some results sooner than later.
Ask you a sidebar question on that.
Sure.
I do think we do a pretty darn good job of Hunter Ed for 12-year-olds. We do, and bow hunter ed included. But is they're not the ones that they could have accidents for sure, but they're not. Mm-hmm. Universally, they're not. It's adults over the age of 45, and predominantly even above that, it's like in their 60s. So how do we address that? How do we tackle that? Because it's not in the education world. If you look at this holistically, if you teach a 12-year-old and we advise down to a 10-year-old, a pretty intensive class one time for 12 hours, it doesn't track that that's going to last for the rest of their life. That's actually, to me, shockingly, you know, like everything is circular. We got to come back to it. And a 12-year-old, we're attempting to teach this entirety of this course is in a lot of time. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
we should be coming back to it at multiple different stages, right?
Well, absolutely. Yeah, you know, advanced Hunter Ed programs have been talked about ad nauseum. There's something that we could develop and implement, copy and implement. You know, offer bonus points. I mean, like the solutions for something like that, they're there. And as a department, we've languished in doing more with that. Is my honest assessment there. And again, I don't want to hear that what we do at the Hunter Ed level at that entry is bad. I'm saying that what we could do is more. You know, IHEA put out something a couple of years ago that a lot of accidents are from adult onset hunters. You know, that we had one in Region 2 years ago, was it? Where, I mean, he's violating one of the 4 safety laws, and he pulls the gun towards him and it's loaded. And I mean, it's sad that happens. And so, you know, 12 hours once in their life, is that enough? It's not. It's just not. And what can we do more and move beyond just proper rifle handling or gun safety program to something more robust? There's solutions out there, Francis. The willingness and the resources to implement those, I think, are the two challenges, is the buzzword, right? So whatever we have to do to move past those, I think that secures the future of hunting in Montana.
We'll know that there's a willingness from the agency 100%, you know that, but I would say the one thing I could say in having this seat for 2 years is my capacity, right? That has been actually a pretty large issue for me, is the capacity to get to that adult. So yeah, thanks, Everett. Appreciate it.
When you say capacity, Francis, are you talking you just don't have time because of everything else?
Our hunter ed is a beast. It's a beast, and so I've in 2 years I've neglected bow hunter ed as me being the lead here in as well, just to try to gain a capacity for what are an understanding of and keep a monitor and administer that hunter ed. So yeah.
Yeah,
it's
and I guess I'm not saying anything you don't know, but the request in future budgets for implementation of this and making it more of a priority from the department's angle, I think would be really beneficial.
Thanks, Everett.
Greg has his hand up if you want to go ahead and mark if you want to see through numbers.
Greg, you had a comment?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to make sure we didn't lose sight of something Francis has talked two things. Francis has talked about the focus that the program has on training instructors. And so right now, we have spent a lot of time in the last 10 years talking about instructor recruitment. And Francis, being the whiz that he is, came on and realized that the recruitment might be an issue, but the bigger issue is training and getting quality instructors trained and holding classes. And so with Francis's guidance on that, that's where we're going to be putting a lot of emphasis, is on getting not just keeping instructors, but getting instructors trained and delivering courses, because we got a lot of instructors that aren't teaching. We've got some instructors that aren't teaching, that need some help in teaching better courses. So we're going to make some emphasis there. And then the other piece is just to keep everybody kind of remembering that we are working on that adult hunter ed course that is going to be on the ground at the start of next year. So we are, and that again is reflective of where Francis is seeing the need for addressing actual safety problems in the field.
Thanks, Greg.
Yeah.
Paul.
Yeah, I appreciate the effort you put into this report. Thank you. And I really don't have everything. Everybody seemed to be covering everything I wanted to ask. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Drew?
Mr. Beal, I too was awfully quiet during that presentation, but there was a lot in there and really well done. So I don't have anything to add, but thank you for all the information.
Thanks, Drew. Donna.
Thank you. And also thank you all for the presentation, Francis. We appreciate the updates. I guess what started my whole desire with this was we were working on the Advanced Hunters Ed program, which I think is a fabulous program. But in the process, behind the scene, I realized that the youth were falling through the cracks. And those youth will become adult hunters at some point. And we need the recruitment. And as a council, my question to you is, how do we help you? I mean, is it legislation to help? I have a couple of things written down here. To help with liability. So when landowners or outfitters or instructors offer their property for field day, how do we lighten the liability on those people? What about funding? Do we establish funding through legislation that can help maybe hire additional staff because as we all know, people are running out of time to volunteer. It's hard to get volunteers for anything anymore. So looking into the future, do we promote legislation for additional funding for the program? And for the volunteers, do we promote something to help, some kind of stipend to help volunteers at least pay for fuel or just some hard costs that they're doing? Not that we're going to pay a volunteer, but let's cover some of their hard costs. So those are just a couple ideas I'm throwing out to the council to see how we can not only talk about this and hash it over, but let's make some action plans to help move this program forward.
Thanks, Donna.
Thank you, Donna. So following that up, I think to take that as a point by point, is there any action to be taken in those specific regards? Just to make that note to go forward.
I thought a lot about this, and it actually is, I don't know what the PLPW can do. I don't, everything Donna said is great, is in certain levels. What I know that we need from a program is to statute. We have a state statute to meet, is to teach hunter ed, bow hunter ed, right? And how do we do that? And I think there's a lot of different things. If we contract it to someone, we lose volunteers because now you're paying someone. And those are all things for me to worry about. Liability, we do have pretty good liability insurance when we have that covered from our end. If we go teach it somewhere, that one's covered. So I am open to suggestions for how you could. I work in a bubble. There's only one of me that has my job. I call Jason every once in a while because he had a job similar to that from South Dakota. And so I'm open to, and I think we're open to suggestions coming from the council of what can you guys suggest and offer to us. I'm open. I'm very open. I don't know that I had a good answer, which is poor. I couldn't come up with a good one.
No, that's good. Gwen?
Yeah, I would say same and add, and I mean it to be added in a positive way, is being deliberate about it. There's a large topic on the table right now with a lot of details, and I'm not going to say anything in epiphany fashion here, but that prompts me to really think about an answer to this question, prioritizing our next step, our next action item, what is our next need, and just spinning off of the look for recruitment capacity to train so that people can teach, so that we have more venues, so that we have more demand for more venues. I think about it that way. And so I would come to are there ideas about aiding the recruitment of instructors and the teaching of instructors, maybe combining those two? And I don't know what all of that history is. It was interesting, Francis, when you said that folks get ready, but then they don't engage.
Yeah.
And maybe that's not the way to hear it. I said it, they get ready and then they're not invited to engage. Which of those two circumstances happening? And maybe it's like when you said it, when I thought that, to be very candid, I thought of sometimes it's hard to walk into sometimes it's hard to be a new congregation member in a new church, in an old church.
Yeah.
And so what I mean to say there is not to poke at church congregations, but maybe it's prudent, and maybe the process the conversation already has in all the states. Just seeing that, and then I see us approach the online piece this way, where there's just a place where you say, there's a really definitive manifestation of human nature. And I get it. If you have a team and your team has been working for 10 years on delivering this course, I don't know if it's necessarily a negative response, but it's not the team response that they did the last 10 years. And so just thinking about is there ways to think about recruiting teams?
Yeah.
Is there a way to, Craig's comment about having each day you have a new instructor? Have we vetted that approach as much as we can so that we move away a little bit from a new person walking into an old church? Let me back way up, because I'm talking out of my lane of understanding about what's been done and with the project. I only mean to say, however PLPW might help, it's a big deal. So let's be deliberate about a piece of the elephant that we think we can chew, and it's the right first piece of the elephant. And that seems to be training, recruiting instructors and training them and then finding them into a class.
Yep.
If I'm hearing you, if I'm understanding you correctly, Francis,
Correct.
if that's helpful, Chair.
Yeah, I guess one thing I didn't mention is in 2025, I called every new instructor's application that came across my desk. And so I gave it a period of time. And when they didn't connect in, I called them and I said, okay, so you've applied, you've gotten here. What's your next step? What is the causation for your trajectory to a decline? Where are you at? And that took a lot. That took a lot. And I couldn't do that with full capacity, but I wanted to address why are they getting here? How are they getting here? How did you hear about us? How did you apply? And then what is stopping you? And the number one is time.
Yeah.
Time. So yeah.
And if I may, Chair, yeah. And so thank you, Francis. And so how do none of us can make more time. We can, is there incentivizing to make people rethink the time, to make us rethink time, and what are all the incentives? We raise to a bonus. I want to say that we put bonus points. We put something tangible like that. Is it our delivery? Is it our engagement? Is it our targeted audience? I mean, there's a lot of things that we could, and I don't know how many of those things that, for one of a better way to put it, the industry has already vetted.
Yeah.
The 3 R's has a long history now. So I don't know which of those. I don't know how much work has been hammered out again and again, and what hasn't been, Francis. And I'll stop there. But
no, fair.
And I only say that, Chair, just to make sure we don't get stopped. Try again. That is our task. And when we understand that there's no time, that's not where we stop. That's just where we focus.
Yeah, Ed, I would chime in with Quinn a little bit, because I think one of the great things about this conversation that is coming at a point of change within our program. So Francis has got his feet on the ground, and we've got 7 ed techs in the regions. That's 7 new staff members that it increases the program capacity we've had from a paid staff standpoint in a way that we've never had a shot in the arm like that. So those ed techs are like 4 months on the job, and so this spring going into the summer is really when we're going to start to see them hit the ground and have an impact. And then the conversations about, as Quinn was talking about training staff, like we're working through what that looks like. We're also like I mentioned, talking with OPI. There might be some new doors open there. So it's good to hear the thoughts from the PLPW and the concerns and the needs, and also to know, like, when we have this conversation next year, like, we anticipate that we're going to be in a different place, and we're going to be able to have some experience with some new capacities, some new ideas, and new programs in place that hopefully are going to really move the needle on this. That's why the ed techs are there. That was certainly the intent when we proposed them to the legislature, and the message we got from the legislature was that they need to be used to expand hunter education.
Thanks, Greg. So a couple things I'll wrap up with, and one of them, before I forget, Donna, why don't you and I commit to each other, and then maybe we'll pull a couple other people in to follow up together on your points in question, Donna, about how we continue to be available to help on this side, particularly with Francis. So I'll make that commitment to you, and then again, anybody else who would like to be part of that, maybe just send me an email, and we'll include that just for discussion purpose on the side. What occurred to me too, 2 things. Everett said robust, and then somebody talked about expeditious. I mean, I think that's where we're at. And I just think as time goes, you lose so much momentum if you don't get these gaps filled real quick. So Greg, you commented about having the ed techs in the regions. 8 doesn't have one. And I just would point that out. Who is that? Is is it on Francis to do that, or who is a designee? Because I see, he spent a lot of time in the field and gained all that information and experience, but who is that innate? Because this is where your top direction is coming from to the other regions. That's just a question internally and structurally, but it seems to me to be a gap from what I've experienced here in whatever region we are. 8, 3, 2, 4, 2, 3. Mostly 3 and 2 for me, but anyways, we're 8, and I think 8 doesn't have an ed tech. So I just ask you that question. And then Francis, clearly, again, to Everett, and Greg mentioned that the Advanced Hunter program is a very different look that needs to be addressed. And defining these programs, how they're most effective in the age categories, I think, is really important to get a handle on. In addition to that, communicating that to the instructors, and when whoever was talking about, Everett again, having component or specialized instructors, we did that here, and it is so much more effective, both to get the instructor to say, I can devote this 2 hours, 1 month, 4 months, whatever, knowing what that is and having that potential available. And then lastly, to me, it all boils down to, you have to absolutely have, what are your policy compliance issues for the instructors? It isn't a maybe. We can implement this. We've got to implement this. It isn't a maybe. We can talk about orange guns, inerts. We can talk about whatever that policy is. You know how widely they go, but there just needs to be a clear, concise, this is what we're doing. And then the buy-in is why.
Yeah.
Why are we doing it? You have to have that. From my experience, just speaking from 8, it may not be relevant anywhere else where all that's still seamless.
Yeah.
Okay. But I think you absolutely need to know, because we're all counting on that. All those questions of liability and consistency across the 8 regions of Montana. 7.
And to be clear, you like the standardization, clear consistency, clear objectives, and that instructors should be teaching to those.
You have to have part of that has to be 100%.
Yep.
It can't be varied from part of that.
Yeah.
Then you've got the nuanced interjections into the class that make it interesting or whatever, but you have to have that.
How do I bat is not the right word, but the generational, this is how we've done it.
It's always buy-in.
Yeah, it's buy-in.
We're going through these same tech transitions in our company, and it's always buy-in.
Yeah.
And so if I look at my company, there's 40 people, 2 are not going to buy in.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean?
Yeah.
They're out.
They're out.
That's hard.
Yeah.
But they're out of that part.
Mm.
And I think it's just a reality. If you have to have complete buy-in, because this is what the customer wants and needs, then that's my 2 cents.
No, I appreciate your sense.
Clearly,
pennies.
You have certain parameters of hunter education that are absolutes.
Yeah.
Even like what Dave McEnany was talking about, those are the subjective realities of teaching education. What is an ethical hunter? What is a entitled hunter? How do we at least mention this so people think?
Yeah.
To me, that's tricky.
Yeah.
We need to do it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's not a black and white in how you do it.
Yeah.
The 4
rules
are
cut and dry.
And whatever, if 4 needs to be 5,
sure,
so be it when you look at Montana's needs versus IHEA.
Sure.
They have to be.
Yeah.
For him.
Yeah.
For the state.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's what the public expects. You get into the education part of this in schools, which I think would be phenomenal. You have to have that. All the rest is good, but that is the nut of it.
Yeah. Well, we actually have set up really well to go into classes. We have standards, we have objectives, we have all those things to hand out and give to. What we have is a adherence or a little bit of a us versus them of what right do I have in my experience to tell you how to teach your hunter ed course that we've done for 50 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, interesting. I like it.
And last, Greg, just an input for the education side is OPI. Just a thought. I know you guys brought Tom Dixon back to help Montana Wild do some things. His article a couple of years ago on how this all fits together might be a segue into education about what hunting is and the heritage and connection to Montana ag, all of it. I mean, it was such a well done article that seemed to me to be kind of the course outline for why we do this in education, whether that's at junior high or wherever that fits. But it just seemed like a great article to take off of about why and how, and this is why we should do it in education.
Yeah, Ed, I couldn't agree more. It's something that we would definitely do because we have the opportunity. If we get into the classes, we're not asking people to come to us if they're interested. We're going to be able to go to them and talk about why hunting and conservation is important, why private landowners and our relationships with them are important. Like all that stuff can be part of that curriculum.
Yeah. All right. We're past a little break, so if anybody has anything before we go to break, yell it, or we'll take a quick break. 10 minutes. All right. Thanks, everybody. All right. We'll get rolling again. Only Jason can tell if everybody's back with us. Or mostly.
We're here.
We're here.
We're here. They're not on, but they're here.
Okay. All right. So next up, this is on you, right, Jason? So we're going to go through where we're at with the department on access strategies.
Yeah. Pull this up here.
I'll get out of your guys' hair.
Thanks, friends.
Yeah, thank you guys. If you guys have any questions or anything for me, please let me know. Reach out. I'm always available.
Okay. Yeah, good seeing you.
You too, Frank.
Not sure what that looks on there. So a roundabout way, we're working towards your guys' recommendations at the same timeline. We're also working through our executive planning process. And so your recommendations for both operations and or changes to staff, anything related to policy, all of that timeline is also running parallel to this effort. And so what we wanted to do was to bring you guys up to speed kind of on where we're at least in terms of our process. We're not to the yet. We're just still focused on the strategy piece or the what. And so to go back, take a step looking back, Mr. McNanny, this will be new for you because you weren't a part of the council yet. Chris and Rich, same way. So thinking back to our July 2025 PLPW meeting we had in Helena here, we kind of went through, what is bringing us to this point? What is bringing the conversation related to access program participation to this point? And primarily it was the legislative performance audit that came up through Unlocking Public Lands, which also asked us, to review your programs, figure out why landowners aren't participating at a level, what optimal incentive might be needed to incentivize participation. So that was one piece of that. The 25 legislature, a number of bills pointed to a decline in acreage and block management. There was a resolution study bill that passed the House. It ran out of time to get to the Senate. but it was basically looking at block management funding. Is it sustainable? Where are you at? How do you grow participation? And so there's all of those conversations. The same time, you guys have a statutory requirement to review all these access programs and make recommendations. And then our staff too are all looking at these things as a discussion items and how do we improve, how do we increase participation. And so looking back at the PLPW meeting and from July, the main factors that the committee came up with that affect landowner participation were lack of trust, lack of understanding, which ties in some kind of a perception of, or a misunderstanding of a lack of loss of control, insufficient incentives, and then the personal use of property, which is, you know, the purchase of ranches or land ownership changing, where it is used primarily for recreation or not a ag operation in the traditional sense. So the group chose not to address number 4, but those 3 were what were the primary factors that the committee identified coming out of your July meeting last year. Follow that up with an access managers meeting we had in September. So as myself and our regional access managers, many of you who are on this call, we sat down and went through an exercise called practice to purpose, or purpose to practice. What it does is it looks at what's your fundamental core purpose, why does it exist, why do you exist, and then ties in, okay, who needs to be included in order for you to fulfill your purpose? What kind of structures need to exist for you to fulfill your purpose? What would be the definition of success? What practices would you put in place to meet your purpose? And so through that whole exercise, we came up with, and through some staff deliberation, I took a little bit at liberty to add anglers here because we had focused our meeting primarily on hunting, but this is our purpose. Our purpose for the access programs exists to connect hunters and anglers and landowners, preserve hunting fishing traditions, provide opportunities, and support wildlife and fisheries management. That is the purpose of these access programs. And so we talked about, well, how do we know if we're successful? And these are the areas that staff came up with, which much align with the factors that PLPW has also discussed, that this is how we know we're successful if we can address these areas. Taking that again, then into October, we had another PLPW meeting where we talked about private land fishing access and then fundamentally gave you the overview of the program. And these were PLPW's, again, overall takeaways from that October meeting. Take care of landowners, increase budget, and then secure staffing and for implementation and administration of the private land fishing access agreements. So that's kind of the background of how we got to where we are at this point. So then what we do is we follow, the governor has a strategic planning model he calls OGSM, or Objective Goals, Strategies, and Measures. And so we're following that same process where the overall objective, which is again the same, to increase and retain landowner participation in hunting and fishing access programs. And so our first goal with that, so the objective, now the goal, the first goal obviously is to increase direct contact with landowners likely to participate in hunting access programs. And so you can see on the left side of the table, these are the high priority ideas that you guys all came up with in your meetings. And then the right side is actually what we're proposing or pushing forward as our program concept related to, here's our strategy of how we would increase contact with landowners likely to participate in hunting access programs. And so you're looking at, okay, PLPW, this is what your suggestions were. Staff had the similar suggestions in our September meeting, and this is what we've been pushing forward in terms of an actual concept of how we would actually do this for this first goal. Are there any questions so far? And if you have them on Zoom, go ahead and just shout it out because I'm presenting, so I can't see your hands up. But so that's goal 1, is to increase direct contact with landowners. And that's, again, all of these ideas came from you all and also our staff. And so what you see on the right is what we push forward in our overall access strategy component of OGSM. Yeah,
but
yep.
I'm a slow reader.
Apologies.
Especially when I'm listening to you. So on the department concept side, on the right side, is this fleshed out to this point, or have you been able to connect the dots, you know, with those concepts?
So this is where we're at to this point. When I talk about the how, that's our EPP process as it runs simultaneously with this process. So we've identified what we would like to do. Now we need to go through the planning process, which is the internal review. It would also run through the governor's budget to determine what we actually push forward in terms of I call it the how, but it's the pieces of the budget and the people that it would take to pull these concepts off. Does that make sense?
So just to comment to PLPW. So looking back at this, this was one of the key things we discerned in terms of success with contact with landowners and their satisfaction in the programs, whether it was those participating or those not participating, specifically mentioned in the bottom. So does anybody have any other comment on this? I mean, it was certainly one of the key things we recognized is communication with landowners.
So there's more coming on that piece too.
Okay.
But Paul does have his hand up.
All right, Paul.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Increased direct contact with landowners likely to participate. What I don't understand there is I think we need a outreach to more landowners that just all landowners. I think a lot of these landowners out there are unaware of this stuff. I mean, if we're only going to focus on people that are likely to participate, I think we need to, I think the department needs to do a better job of reaching out to all landowners, and not only on this subject, but just overall season setting, population objectives, and those kind of things too.
Noted. And Paul, it looks to me like, I know that in the heading it says likely under goal 1, but the third box down, non-participating, do you think that includes that, or is that something different to you?
Well, I don't know if it's different. I just think that right now there needs to be more landowner participation and somehow to reach out to those landowners and get their involvement more. This might be a little bit another topic about planning strategies for the PLPW, but I would like to see some more panels like we had last time to contact and bring in some landowners that are not participating to find out what their objectives are, or how they object to this, these access programs, some of the issues they're having with the department. I think that would be really good for our conversation, because we learned so much last time on having those landowners that were on that panel.
All right. Thanks, Paul.
Quinn, did you have any comments?
No, I did. I'm sorry. No, I don't.
Well, I saw you guys pop on the screen there in Region 6. Did you have a question or anything?
I can do it.
I think that is a no. Maybe not. Maybe. Okay. So goal 2. So reorganize, simplify, communicate hunting access programs, again with the focus on landowners. So our concepts there are kind of on the right, and your ideas are on the left. You'll see pretty much a direct relationship from your guys' high priority ideas to then what the agency plans to do in terms of reorganizing and simplifying these programs.
That was not me. So your ball, we're gonna
Hey, Jason,
Everett,
do you want to speak directly to your use of technology? Anything specific there that you want to mention that you're going to be doing?
As far as technology goes, we're going to probably kick some of that to a future meeting, but you're talking about the outreach campaign piece of that?
No, I just looking at the very bottom left, use of technology, free up staff, create relationships. I just, as you know, very curious how we're continuing to implement technology in the department?
Yeah, we're still in process and still continue to work on components of that. Block management reservations are pretty much high priority, and getting that off the ground would be the first piece. That should free up some staff time. The contracting system is also in the works and discussions too. We're just not, I guess we haven't progressed too far with the tech pieces relates to access programs yet. We're still working through that. Any questions on reorganization, streamlining enrollment for landowners? Okay. Goal 3, improve incentives. So the first 3 goals are tied specific to hunting access. The 4th goal is more the fishing access goal. But really we're looking at these ways to improve incentives, and that could be monetary, it could also be non-monetary. We do have our landowner incentive survey out currently. That one just went through, I believe, the second or third. We just went through the second mailing, and the way that goes out is it's a letter with a QR code for landowners to complete the survey online. We've had almost 1,200 responses that way, which is about 20% I think. I just talked with our human dimensions guy earlier last week or this week. There's about 20% response rate doing it that way. The university who we're partnering with like us to do a physical third mailing. So we're still kind of discussing whether or not that's necessary, but basically we're working on what incentives would that look like, both monetary and non-monetary from that survey. Looking at hunter management services. So we're trying to expand more of that hunt coordinator role, looking at options that we can have for more field staff to help enhance, improve more of our management services, anywhere from staff to check boxes to staff to help coordinate hunters if needed. And the last one, both PLPW's high priority idea as well as, again, the agency concept was looking at more of a non-monetary and any opportunities to expand for landowners to obtain non-transferable permits and licenses, which is one of those areas we talked about even with preference last time with your bonus point conversation for landowners enrolled in access programs. For that could be an example of how you would look at that kind of an opportunity. Dave.
Yes, I would like to know, is there a way we can get a copy of the questions that are asked on the landowners on their survey?
Yes, sir.
Because I would like to see what is being asked, or maybe if there could be an improvement of questions that could be asked.
Sure. So the survey is out. We've already gone through 2 versions of it. It actually, believe it or not, runs 5 different surveys at once. So what they're doing is trying to establish a market by saying landowner A gets one market price, landowner B gets a different market price, C, D, they all get different. And then they'll use their economists at U of M to help determine some of that willingness to accept on a monetary side. But then the non-monetary questions are there as well. You know, would you need fence repair assistance in exchange for access? Those kinds of non-monetary direct incentives are also being asked too. But yeah, we'll get you guys a copy of the survey. That's not a problem.
I would appreciate that.
Dale.
And Jason, when you started the discussion, I thought on goal 3, you said one of these was more directed toward the fishing access program. I missed something there.
So that's goal 4 is focusing on PLFAs, but the first 3 are directly related to hunting access. And if you think about our statutory obligations, that's far and away 75, 90%, maybe 95% of our work. PLFAs are a small component, but we all also are statutorily required to implement that program.
Okay, thanks. I just missed kind
So I'll go
of
over
trying
fishing
to
next.
figure out how that was what goal 3 was referring to the fishing stuff. So thank you.
Yep, that's goal 4.
So Jason, on goal 3, bottom placeholder. Can you expand on that a little?
So placeholders are what, like I said, I put in place right now in advance of our executive planning process. So not only do we look at our House Bill 2 or our asks for staff and operations, we also look at policy asks. And right now we haven't gone through our internal review of what we would present to the governor's office for their suggestions or approval, both of the budget, but then also agency bills. And so right now I'm just kind of sticking in suggested ideas, and then we'll leave that to our department management team and then also to the governor's office to determine what would be an agency bill. And if it's really passionate that something doesn't make it through that process, there is still the opportunity there to have that discussion as well. So placeholders is just my way of noting that these are areas where we're going to address, like the incentive survey, for example. That's also a placeholder. Monetarily, it depends a little bit on where revenue collections go. So I can't exactly say this is what our suggestion is. It's the same with the other incentive pieces because we won't have results back probably till late spring, what the actual numbers are. And so we're just holding those spots so we don't miss our opportunity to also align with your process with recommendations. Thank you. So that's kind of also ties into a little bit of our work plan. We'll talk more about that, but the placeholder pieces, as you look about it, think about it, and make formal recommendations, that helps me hold those spots also for PLPW suggests A, department, do you agree with A? Do we want to run it as an agency bill? Do you want to run it something separate from that? And if so, then we can have that discussion about how that might or might not happen. So better the placeholders exist. And that's where your recommendations coming through the 26th calendar year will formalize and develop into this is what's going forward. Thank you. Any other questions on goal 3? Dave, sorry.
Yeah, I would just like to comment, maybe going back to a little bit of what Paul said. If there is more landowner input to season settings, season quotas, I think you would have a lot more landowner participation in these access programs. Right now, the landowners, they don't feel like they're involved whatsoever in season settings and season quotas. They're just told how many elk and deer we want, and this is how many you're going to feed. And I think you would get a lot more landowner participation in these programs if they had landowner participation in season settings and quotas.
So maybe my question and kind of clarification might be for you, Dave and Paul. I hear you and I agree. So as I understand season settings, it's a commission reality. I mean, it's a function and responsibility that those are all run through the commission after the department works those up. So I think on the public side, the public is always delving into those and looking at them individually, whether it be an individual person who has that interest or a hunting organization or sports person's organization. So my question is, how do you see the best way to increase that landowner participation in that discussion? Because it is open to the public. I'm just curious. I don't personally do it a lot from the sports person side, but I know that's how it happens on the sports person side. Do either of you have any insight into that?
Go ahead, Dave.
I guess I would just like to say maybe a committee like was at the last meeting of landowners before seasons are set and before quotas are set. Now they just are come out and there's public comment, and it's usually I admit landowners are very busy all the time and they hardly got time to make meetings any times of the year. But the public comment period, there's not many landowners attend it because they don't know about it or don't have time to do it. If it was set up ahead of time where the landowners had input into this, I think you would get a lot more participation further down the line.
Okay. Go ahead, Paul.
Thanks, Chair. I'm thinking about like the new elk management plan when that went into effect. I looked over the public comments that came in on that, and there were very, very few landowner participation or at all on those comments. And then they basically set these population objectives at wherever their counts were at. And I don't think landowners even know about the meetings, nor do sportsmen. I this last season setting process, I talked to a lot of people didn't even know that, even hunters or landowners that didn't even know that this was going on. And I think the department needs to make a better effort of, I know they're trying to. I mean, they got social media. I mean, I get the emails, but the general public out there is not being heard they don't even know about this process. And landowners are probably even worse about that. I think a lot of the landowners probably are, and that's why I think we need them on a panel right now, is I think these landowners need to be heard about why they're not participating. And I think it goes back to past experience about being involved and having not been heard, and I think they get ignored a lot. I think that I'll be honest, I think the sportsmen have more input and more direct relationships with the Fish and Game. And you got to keep in mind that the Fish and Game, I know it's a commission decision, but the Fish and Game are the ones that put these proposals out, and it all starts there. And I think that, I don't know, and I think the season setting process should be done sometime other than right during hunting season and right in the middle of hunting season and calving and all that, or selling your calves and all that stuff. So I think there's a better time to do that. I don't know when or how we do it, but I think there's got to be a better relationship, a direct relationship, maybe a direct outreach to landowners. I know that they had a meeting in Dave's area with the director, and I thought that was a very productive meeting, and I think there should be more of those maybe.
Yeah, I guess the only thing I can offer back thinking about this discussion and the first goal, is there a way for the department? Because I think that's the way they're going to get there, is who makes those communications? As you just pointed to, Paul, it's a commission decision, but the department formulates the original recommendations. So, how does that get communicated from the department more directly to the landowners? Because again, I think it's open access to everybody. And, to your point, Dave, yeah, landowners are absolutely busy 24 hours a day. Their job is not 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. or whatever it might be. I just think that how do we help this conversation to actually get that result as you bring it up?
Do you have a comment? We'll go to Craig.
Yeah, thanks. And maybe Quentin, if you don't mind, just when I think back, and I don't want to be like the old fuddy-duddy, but it seemed like there was a time when, as a biologist, you worked with the local warden, but you also, anything that you presented as a proposal coming out of your area, Quentin, if you were successful at it, you had a lot of input from the landowners one-on-one, talking to them in the field. And so these things, when they did come up, weren't a big surprise to a lot of them. And you correct me, Quentin, if I'm wrong, but maybe so if there is something broke, because this is obviously a goal, that maybe that isn't happening like it was at one time, and maybe I just don't have a good memory of how things were done. But I'm not trying to put you on the spot, Quentin, but it seems like that was a system that kind of worked, and yet we're looking at maybe priorities have shifted to where people don't have the time to do that kind of thing. Is that? I just offer that up as for you to comment on.
Yeah, thanks, Craig. Chair. Yeah, I think, yeah, your comments, Craig, take me back to the first slide. And I think it was Paul's comment about, not just landowners that are likely to be involved with access programs. And what I mean to say, Craig, to your point is I see that first slide really talking fundamentally about relationships and pursuing relationships, not to have leverage in the next conversation, but pursuing relationships just for the sincere value by 1,000 different measuring sticks of having relationships. There's awareness, there's grace, there's understanding, there's appreciating each other's shoes, and rolling that to your point, to your example, Craig, of season setting. Certainly, and you can look at it a couple different ways. You can work hard to have a level of awareness for, as a biologist, for the proposal that you put forward, and have strength in that early work. Or you can get pulled up short when your early work surprises a whole bunch of people, including landowners, because you haven't worked with them. And so I think that lesson has always been there to learn. That direction has always been there from leadership, as you described it, Craig. Certainly, this director has emphasized landowner relationships. But I'm going to insert the word "but" there. I would also say that same history has proven that we can never emphasize that enough. We can never do it enough. And I don't mean to say to back away and excuse it. It's just such a positive return when it's done well. And there are competitions for time, including the landowner's availability as well. So I think the idea is still there. I think the practice is still there. We can debate if it's ebbed or flowed. I think across bios, across the state, that circumstance is different, Craig, but certainly the direction, whether you do it well and get rewarded, or whether you do it poorly and learn a lesson the hard way for the next time, I think that concept is still very much in place, Craig. Does that hit your question, Craig?
Yeah,
it's a great point.
That. I really do. If I could, Chairman Beal, add just one more point.
Please do.
One of the things when I see this, and it's good work and it's pretty reflective, I think, of what we've been talking about, but and talk to some other folks within this whole framework is how about the landowners that allow significant amount of access that aren't part of the program? And I understand as a committee and as an agency, we're interested in trying to grow a very successful program in block management, but there's a lot of access being allowed with folks that aren't a part of the program. And I know that's obvious, but maybe some of that gets lost in this a little bit. And then also some of the incentives in some of those conversations, folks reminded me that some of those incentives started out to be actually sort of an incentive because they were stewards, they were private land, they were stewards of the public resource. It wasn't simply tied to access, but it was an acknowledgement of their importance on the landscape. And I would just offer those two things up. I know folks know that. It's a sidebar thing in this whole discussion for me. Thanks.
And Craig, as you're making that comment, I think your last part there about the significance on the landscape, maybe as a part of the FWP concepts is within that region, identify those who have those significant holdings or whatever, or impacts, as part of a target group to make sure there's focus towards communication, whether they're in access programs, whether they provide access, or whether they're impacted a lot by wildlife and the contribution to wildlife that is made in that area. Some sort of way to focus that way in a region, to increase that need for communication.
Yeah, you just said it more eloquently than I did, Ed, so thank you.
Oh no, you gave me the idea, Craig.
Well, I mean, I'll bring up just a quick example. There's a ranch not in block management. The last time I talked to them 2-3 weeks ago, they had harvested 120 antlerless elk since December. I mean, it's just those kind of things that are happening all around the state that I think we don't want to lose in this whole discussion. Thanks.
Absolutely.
Thank you. And I would just restate Craig's comment. I think it's well said, and only meaning to reframe it or to re-say it in a different vocabulary. I mean, if really, and Craig, your specific example that you just enumerated, whatever else you call all the stakeholders, all the people, all the humans, all the circumstances that an elk population engaged, you would call it a community. And WISE is the manager that works to keep good understanding where the community stands as a whole, and then also the individual components, whether they're in a program or not, where they have a whole bunch of access or not, where they host a whole bunch of elk in the fall, but not in the winter, or vice versa. They're all touched by that elk population. So they're all arguably sincere, genuine stakeholders in the conversation.
Yeah, and that leads me, Quentin, I think it's in two, mentors and all that in the neighborhood. I always think that our challenge for Montana is you have biologists, wardens, access folks, various people that come into personal contact with a particular landowner, and all of them are wildlife managers in a sense.
Yeah.
But they're not wildlife managers.
Right.
And I think that's one of the challenges. Who is that?
Yeah.
Yet it's all of them. Yeah. And we've talked about that a little before, but how do you incorporate that into your department personnel responsibilities, even though they're all wearing a little bit of a different hat?
Yeah. That's really another really good description of a circumstance. And for sure there's a challenge. It's a challenge worth taking on because all of them, it only comes, it's a team, right? And the team has to be responsible of the whole, has to be responsible of where the team's going, has to be responsible and respectful of the roles, has to fill the roles, have to support the roles. And as, teams are hard to manage. Your point is well made. And certainly in good effort, while we think about strategically, gosh, we need a little more focus here. It's good to also think about what focus is going to get, what teammate is going to get, or what team role is going to get a little less focused because we've decided to focus on this. That's a good comprehensive deliberation to always have.
Of kind of like Francis talking about leads. I mean,
yeah,
you got to have.
Yeah.
And so who are they?
Yeah.
You have different options for leads.
Yeah. That's right. And leads can, every level has a lead too. It's complicated. It's good stuff to talk about. Again, how do you, I remember, if I may, Chair, an interesting topic. I remember, some may remember Commissioner Ron Moody. Ron Moody, when he was a commissioner, is passed now, but he had an interesting story, and I can't remember, it was in a commission meeting, I can't remember what prompted it, but he challenged, he was always on communication, he was always on relationship. He challenged how to think about an elk population that a landowner engages in the landowner's perspective 365 days a year, the elk population that a couple of hunters engage during the hunting season, or when they run out ice fishing in December and they see a little bit of that elk population, and the biologist engaging in a flight that happens to catch the right day and sees all of the elk or most of the elk. All of those are taken by themselves, are completely different pictures.
Yep.
But they're all looking at the same elk population. And so the task becomes someone leading that conversation to help everybody see their individual perspectives as real and relevant, but also needing a little enhancement from the rest of the 360 degrees that they weren't able to see.
Put it together.
Yeah. Sorry, took the liberty there, but it's good stuff to talk about as well.
That's your job to figure out.
That's right. That's the department staff. That's right.
Paul, did you have another comment, or your hand's still raised from before?
No, I got a real quick comment here. I think over time that this relationship with the landowners kind of eroded starting back in 2007, 2008, because they were really actively involved in the process, season setting, things like that. And it seemed like over time it just eroded where they just don't want to participate anymore. And I think that one of the goals of the PLPW, after all, it is private land, public wildlife, you got a landowner relationship in there, and I'd like to get some in there and have them maybe help the department understand why they're not participating. Help bring them in on a panel. That's all. I think it's important we hear from them that aren't, that are kind of standoffish and don't want to visit.
Thanks, Paul.
Okay. Just briefly go ahead, Dave, and then we'll do the last goal, and then we'll jump into public comment.
We just got one last comment. I think the department should realize that the best biologists that they have are the landowners, because they're out there living it every day, all day long. And I'd just like to bring that comment up.
Thank you, Dave.
Okay, the last goal then, like I said, stems just specific to fishing access. From the PLPW meeting we had in October, your high priority ideas are on the left. And so then our access concepts follow that and are almost identical to what you guys suggested in terms of what we are planning to do related to our overall objective of increasing participation in private land fishing access.
Any comments on 4? Still seems like low-hanging fruit. So we're going to get there.
We will get there. Okay. That is all I had related to our current status on our access concepts.
All right. So we're right up against public comment time. So do you have any additional comments on that last segment? Please hold them till right after this, and we'll jump back in them. So Jason, you can let us know what we got.
All right, public commenters, if you'd like to make public comment, please go ahead and raise your hand. This is the time for public comment. The first one we will allow to talk is Senator Logie. Go ahead and unmute yourself, Senator.
Thank you. I put the unmute. One of the things I was wondering if there'd be a chance I could get a copy of that survey as well.
Okay.
And then the other thing, comment kind of on the last discussion you're having, and one of the things I did put a little comment in on the season setting up here in our area. I'm in District 201 where I live, but I have 2 hayfields. One is across the river from 202 and one is across the river from District 200. And both of those areas do not have cow tag. One has 5 cow tags and the other has no cow tags, but those elk swim in the river. And in 201 where I live, I basically am kind of the private land stretching for about the last 15 miles of that district because we're so much public ground. And one of the things they've done on 201 is they put out a B tag, which basically has allowed the hunter in the right circumstance, if they have a B tag over the counter plus they put in for a permit for a cow tag, they can actually shoot 3 elk. And in 201, in the west end of 201, but in District 200 and 205, or 202, like I say, there's only 5 cow tags. And so what I have done on my block management has said that I don't allow the B tag, the over the counter tag on my property. And I've tried to put that input into the commissioners, and so people, I'm not the bad guy to say, well, you can't use a B tag on my property, but that's one of what in your conversation of letting the landowner have a little bit of input that is understood, and to the commissioners, that's the example I would use. That for me, I get in a bad light sometimes with people when I say you can't use that B tag, but I hear the complaints from the hunters saying we can't shoot cows across the river from those pieces of yours, but yet you can shoot 3 elk on your side of the river. And I think that's where you have to have that a little bit of contact with the landowner just to understand what that situation is. And however you bring that in, I think it fits into your conversation that you just had. That's basically my comments. Thank you. And thank you for allowing me. I'm sorry I missed the early morning session of this.
I'd be curious to see what you've come up with on the filming that's come out. Thanks.
Thank you, Senator. So this is the public comment time. If you'd like to make public comment, please go ahead and raise your hand. The next up will be Mike Mershon.
Thanks, Chair Beal, Council. Mike Mershon with Montana Wildlife Federation here. As always, I appreciate the robust discussion from the council today. I'll try to be quick as I kind of rattle through some of the points in my notes here. Going back to this morning's discussion on Hunter's Ed, I appreciate the point on increasing capacity for the department to continue allowing Hunter's Ed courses for everybody that we've talked about, new hunters, late onset hunters, and as well as the previously discussed advanced Hunter's Ed classes that we've talked about. Further, I feel like I need to issue an apology as it relates to the recruiting new instructors. I'm one of those individuals who's entered into started down the road of engaging with the department on becoming a Hunter's Ed instructor. And as I sit here, I've dug through the stack of papers on my desk and see the packet sitting here still. And, as Francis pointed out, it's the time commitment is a difficult thing for some of us to manage. In the future, I would hope that we can all strive to be the future Del Tribbies of the world in our retirement. As it relates to the recent access programs discussion here, I really agree with Mr. Ellis about goal 1. I think it's a great goal for the department to strive to reach out and touch every landowner. However, for just the sake of staff capacity, thinking about a way to prioritize who's reached out to first might be worth considering. A way to do that might be through an internal evaluation of our existing access programs and using the programs themselves to help identify properties that might be a good fit into that program. An example of this might be the recent addition to the block management program, which expanded eligibility for enrollment into the program specifically for access to adjacent public lands. It would be relatively easy to look at a map of inaccessible public lands and create a list of landowners to specifically reach out to whose properties would be good candidates for that particular program. Just looking at the programs themselves to help guide outreach could be a way forward to navigate that goal. With that, I again thank you guys for your time and the discussion. It's been good to listen to today.
Thank you, Mershon. Again, this is the public comment time. If you'd like to make public comment, please go ahead and raise your hand. The next one up is Mr. Lamb.
Thank you, Mr. Cool. Ben Lamb, Montana Conservation Society, Montana Conservation Fund. Great meeting today, really fantastic presentations. The hunter education discussion is very near and dear to us as an organization. We do run some enhanced hunter education programs, and those are taking off really, really well. And so anything we can do to be helpful in this space, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. More than happy to go through some of the things we've learned over the last couple of years, as well as lessons that have come out of the Master Hunter program, which Mr. Headley was a huge part of, and he had brought some of that up before as well. So on the Hunter Ed stuff, whatever we can do to be of value, please don't hesitate to reach out to us if you're the agency or on the council. On the fishing access site, I think we all want to see better fishing access. It's been an issue that's come up several times during the Section C subcommittee work on the budget. And so I would say, like there's a good opportunity to talk with some of those legislators that have been on Section C, as well as the agency folks that have put those budgets together, because it kind of seemed like there was a stalling a little bit on the amount of money that could be spent. So, if the decision is made to increase that, we'd certainly be all for that. More money for access is always a good thing. And then, the very last thing is I just, wanted to thank Senator Logie for offering his comments as well, and we certainly support those. So with that, great work, Mr. Chairman and members of the PLPW, as well as staff. This was super, super helpful. From a policy discussion, it was super helpful on the kind of human dimension side as well, just hearing from voices throughout the state on these issues. So great work, everybody. Thank you so much for your service. It is deeply appreciated.
Thank you, Ben.
And last up, this is again a public comment time. If you'd like to make public comment, please raise your hand. Lastly, we have Mr. Fields.
Hi there. Can you hear me?
Can hear you.
Awesome. Thanks for having Micah Fields here from the Montana chapter of Backcountry Hunters and Anglers. Chair Beal, members of the council, and folks from the department. Good discussion today. Really appreciated being part of it. Just wanted to comment on Francis's presentation. I think he's doing a great job. 2 years in that position to assess and improve a program like the Hunter's Ed program is not a lot of time, and it seems like he's asking the right questions and doing the work to bring it up to speed and increase the standards of it. Also wanted to second Chair Beal's comments just about enforcing the standardization of that program, and we, it's really important program for instilling, the values of safe, ethical, fair chase hunting, and we feel like that's important, just increasing those standards. And and then just to second Mr. Marchand's comments on block management. It's a proven model, and we think doubling down on how we can increase incentives and just expand that program, particularly in that access to inaccessible adjacent public land, we think is an improvement to block management, and could also be a way to reach out to potential landowners to enter block management. So thanks again for the great discussion, and
Thank you, Micah. That's it. Do any of the council members have any questions for Senator Logie, Mr. Marchand, Mr. Lamb, or Mr. Fields? Might just throw one at Ben. Do you have a specific way you think your organizations can be impactful on the Hunter Ed side of things?
Mr. Chairman, how long do you want me to talk?
1.5 minutes.
I can do that. I think, just kind of off the top of my head, I think something that every nonprofit in this state, whether you're in agricultural, whether you're hunting, whether you're public land, private land oriented, one thing you can do is work with the agency to help promote, basic hunter education. And if you have the space or you have the ability to host field days, work with the agency there. Those field days are awesome. They're super important. It's practical application and it's applied knowledge. It's all academic until you actually put that gun, orange or otherwise, in your hands. So I think partnering with those groups to find those places, whether it's local rod and gun clubs or it's a large organization dedicated towards the betterment of stock growers, for example, there's some really unique opportunities for partnership that are out there on this. And I think those organizations would all be happy to be helpful where they can, how they can. From the enhanced hunter education side that we've seen, we see a lot of the same issues relative to recruitment. And what we have found is that there are opportunities, whether it's through the local 4-H, whether it's through local church groups, the YMCA, things like that. There's other ways to partner to get the word out to fill classes, and we'd be happy to share those kind of efforts. What we've seen work, even contacts that we've had, and then it may be conflating the two a bit, but the discussion around personal relationship with ranches and hunter education, there's a nexus there that really needs to be explored. What we've seen in a lot of ranches that don't fit the traditional ranch model is not necessarily opposition to access, but wondering what program is going to work best for them. And so I think when we talk about outreach to these landowners, again, these organizations can be helpful in developing those relationships, but biologists, wardens, as you're out and you're talking about season setting, talk about the access programs, talk about everything that the agency can do for landowners. And you're going to start to see a lot of that volunteerism come back, I think. And same thing with local rod and gun clubs, or even larger statewide organizations. So I think it sounds like everybody's headed in the right direction. Putting it all into 1.5 minutes is going to be tough, but yeah, I think there's a ton of opportunity for collaboration, and I can't think of one group that wouldn't want to do that.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Lamb. Any last questions, comments? All right. Thank you. On to 26 timeline and future meetings, work plan review.
Okay. Mr. Chair, members, as we talk about our work plan for 2026, I kind of alluded to it already a little bit. And we discussed it briefly last year in Great Falls about how all this kind of comes together. So if you think about the committee running parallel efforts with the agency, our bill proposals, our EPPs for House Bill 2 will be going forward in the next couple months. At the same time, we'll have PLPW and the standard work that you do, but also finalizing your recommendations through kind of this past work session, so to speak. I threw some dates on the calendar, all subject to change. These aren't hard dates by any means, because I've already got a conflict with at least one, maybe two of them. But what I was trying to do was hammer down and narrow in on getting the committee and the council to a place where you have final recommendations to advise the agency on. That final recommendations is developed into a report, and then ultimately all culminating in a Environmental Quality Council presentation of your final PLPW report. And that EQC meeting date has been set at September 7th of 2026, according to their website. So thinking about, okay, that's our end date for this process, working back, it's kind of a matter of how many meetings you all would like to have, how many days we can commit to both in person and or Zoom. One of the kind of more firm dates, I won't say it's a hard date, is somewhere in the middle to late May, early April timeframe. And the reason I ask that is actually because of our PALA reviews. So our public access land agreement reviews. I know it shows up in early June, but ideally we get that done sometime middle to late May, so that we can get those projects on the ground yet starting July 1st for those that have year-round access. The same time, somewhere in there, we'll have kind of a summary of our numbers, program statistics from the 25 participation. We'll also, again, want to hammer down or focus in on what is the final recommendations the committee wants to recommend to the agency based off of all of these topics. I recognize we haven't delved into the technology piece yet, but there is a number of topics we've gone, not only the access programs and HLSP, but then also, of course, landowner preference, which was the topic of the last meeting. And so what I threw together was just kind of a draft work plan. Again, dates are all subject to change. But this would result in 1, 2, 3 more meetings yet in 2026. I know the committee in December expressed a field tour desire. So that would extend that meeting by probably a day. We had suggested maybe doing it up in Northeast Montana because we have a couple of great projects for the committee to see up there. Again, those dates are in flux, but that's just kind of the thought. So it's kind of up to the committee's preference and discretion about how much work you want to do and when you want to do it. Recognizing that we'd like to have somewhere late July, a pretty much final PLPW report that can be reviewed and then shared with legislators prior to their September 7 meeting. So,
questions?
Nobody's raised their hand, Mr. Chairman.
So, Jason, I would just running back through this timeline in regards to our responsibilities. Let's start with budget. When will we know where we're at there? If there's any discussion for access program budget.
Guess I'd have to defer that to maybe Clinton or Renee on when they feel like the governor's budget would be ready. Early August is usually kind of the
mid to late summer.
Yeah. So I'm more specifically, if there's any shortfall or what the status will be in the access program budget, specifically, not the whole budget.
Yeah, that one's kind of tough because our revenue comes well, that's the fiscal year, but it's also the revenue starting March 1st. So March 1st, 2026, like the base non-resident license fee goes from 15 to 50. So there's a discussion of maybe is there buyer resistance at 50 where we see a decrease in revenue. The actions from last fall with the commission on mule deer, for example, and there's about $1 million there to the access program that we potentially won't see in revenue this year. So we kind of don't know all the budget impacts until probably later this summer, early fall to see if there's anything revenue wise that would be affected. Is that?
Yeah, I'm just trying to grasp that timeline.
It's hard because it's, at times we had kind of here's our hunter access fund, here's what's projected to go into it, and we follow those projections pretty well. This one's still kind of uncertain with some of the things that happened.
Well, what we could do is we could, as those pieces occur, just be deliberate about making whatever insights that occurrence provides. The application period for non-resident deer licenses at the next PLPW meeting. We can update at least that piece in. I'm sorry.
Yeah. As we're fleshing out that EQC report, I mean, that's clearly the primary piece of that report.
Yeah.
To get out there, and obviously that can be done a week before, but it just becomes a little more.
Yeah.
Probably not.
Understood. Yeah.
So I was just wondering in terms of timeline, where we should be final, or if we look at that wholly on its own afterward.
We can make sure Lena knows that you have emphasized that that context and that topic in the context of the timeline and the changes that have been put in place. Ask her to help us frame, whatever there is to provide at that point in time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would imagine that would probably be mid to late summer.
Okay.
Somewhere in there, because we won't have all that wrapped up until April 1st at the earliest. So then you're looking at probably 2 months.
Is there budget information that goes in the PLPW report?
Oh, they're
Yeah,
required
okay.
to, that's one of the statutory.
Only thing we have to do.
No, you have to make
And
PALA
your
recommendations.
recommendations.
Yeah.
Yeah, PALA recommendations, your policy recommendations, and then there's a modification to the funding components of the program pieces that the council also has a requirement to report on. So,
Okay. Yeah, just so we're clear on kind of where that's going to be, some sort of timeline note. Obviously, it'll be before September 7th.
clearly before then, probably between, again, the months can change. I like to have, so even though I put April 1st and 2nd, I wouldn't put that in because there's so many conflicts with May. That's about the first time I could find available. But the 1st is already a conflict with the regional office. So then we might go to the 2nd and 3rd, which is a Thursday, Friday option. But anyway, maybe that meeting's not as necessary, but I still need PALA recommendations prior to the next one. So trying to balance some of massaging this out a little bit to help the committee feel like these meetings are valued, useful, help you guys spend time really digging into what are the recommendations you'd like to see, and then also keeping you apprised of all the ongoing regular work that happens.
So within the other recommendations outside of budget, we know where PALA is timeline. I mean, and I think that can be done whenever that is, from Zoom or otherwise.
Could be.
Because we're going to do those as we have regionally.
Yeah.
And then if there's an issue in
If that's okay with the council, Mr. Chair, that seemed to be streamlined and efficient for process. We meet as staff prior to them ever getting to you as individuals.
Yeah.
So our access staff will meet and review for consistency, then they'll go to you as individuals locally. If there's issues or concerns, that's when you bring that back before the full committee. And again, we like to have that done because a lot of these offer year-round access.
Yep.
And so because they're paid on a fiscal year, they start July 1st. And so trying to get everything between your recommendation, the director's decision, implementation on the ground by July 1st is always difficult.
So I'll just throw that back at the council. So if, as in the past number of years, we've been reviewing PALA agreements or new proposals or renewals in your region. So whatever region you're in, this is to the council, you would be contacted by those access managers to review those as that time comes. We've been doing that for the last few years after the initial program introduction. Is there anybody that's been doing that has any comment otherwise that we would like to see it differently, or is everyone okay with that? If you have a comment or concern, please bring that up right now. Okay, nobody? Okay, so we'll need to plug that in that way when you see Jason. And I think the results of that will tell if we need a Zoom. Okay. Or into the next meeting. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, we might be able to do like a mid-May Zoom, like a half-day Zoom to focus on PAL. And then if we can get program numbers, we should have that ready for you by then. The technology piece is maybe a little more squishy. But I know that's one of the topics the community still wants to have on the raise queue. So maybe we can squeeze all three into like a half-day Zoom somewhere in there, not actually have to do an in-person meeting. But then that just delays your ability to then really, I think, sit down and focus on policy recommendations that holistically if we wait too long. So that's just the only feedback.
Okay. So question on landowner preference with what's been fleshed out to this point from the last meeting and these key points that you forwarded to everybody. Are there objectives or goals within that looking forward to 27 legislative needs. Is there anything fleshed out at that point yet for that particular scenario?
Not flushed out yet.
And is it anticipated to be fleshed out before September?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Yeah. We met briefly last week and are going to meet again tomorrow to help flush out where the agency would land.
Hopefully will before then, at least in the context of getting back together.
So then in regards to meeting setting and looking at the meat of the meetings, when would we be at a point where this and any other topics would need that focus of the meeting? Is there a timeline in mind, Jason?
Probably that June meeting would be kind of my focus, where it's kind of culminating in everything. Does that make sense? And then really start to hammer in on your recommendations for your report. Also do your field tour. Also do. I don't think I could wait that long with PALAs. I know the commission meeting is early in June this year, so we also have to kind of be subtract because you'll have your Elk Hunting access and the block corridors probably also the early June commission.
Okay. So do we want to tentatively pick a possible PALA Zoom date? I know we may not.
It's up to committee members if that's how you'd like to just set a give you a couple options, or just set a day for the next really to focus on budget. It'd be budget, public access, land agreements. Well, budget's probably too early, so it's probably public access, land agreements, 25 program participation, and then just technology would be the three that I have as needed yet to kind of cover.
Okay. And so are we looking at that like late April?
Probably. Yeah, somewhere in there would be fine.
Okay, so for those subjects, potential PALA discussion, if we need to go forward in a meeting, 2025 program review, statistics for all the access programs, and technology. So anybody have a problem with a late April potential meeting for those subjects?
Go ahead, Dale.
We're in I guess, two questions. Just with all that's there, are we looking at an in-person meeting then to discuss all that? The other thing is that we're in the throes of turkey season at that point in time too, and that depending on when it is, that likely could be a conflict for me, but I'll do my best to work around it. But again, it kind of depends if we're going to be meeting Zoom or online, or I mean in person.
So I think we were looking at Zoom, Dale, but if we did do it in person, I'm sure you could arrange for turkey hunting for 13.
14, 15, 16, 17.
16. It's getting bigger. Oh, come on, Dale.
That's very much a possibility depending on when it is.
Sounds like Miles City on April 29th.
Thanks for volunteering, Dale. On to the next meeting.
I have people there from the 29th to the end of the month. So just an FYI.
Okay. All right. Duly noted. Any other?
Go ahead, Cindy.
Yeah, the 24th is not good for me. It's the Sportsman's Banquet.
Like the 22nd of April for a Zoom meeting work for folks?
Yeah, good for me.
That would work for me as well.
Would work for me as well.
Anybody know they're not available on April 22nd?
If we did a Zoom
for a Zoom half day, I would say. Okay. I don't hear any no's. So we'll just go ahead and schedule that for tentative Zoom for those subjects.
Yeah, those 3 topics will be Zoom.
Okay.
Hopefully, again, tech is subject to tech folks if they're available or not, but we'll at least have PALA reviews and program statistics from last year. And then the next one you'll be looking at probably in person with a field tour dates, maybe subject to discussion yet, but
okay. So again, early June, potential in person. Any known conflicts right at this point in time?
Go ahead, Stephanie.
I will be headed to Saskatchewan, so if there isn't a Zoom option for that June meeting, I wouldn't be able to make it because we'll be driving probably the 3rd and 4th.
Okay. All of our meetings will have a Zoom option. Right, Joe.
Yeah, the 4th, I will be driving to Missouri for a wedding. Potentially the 2nd, 3rd, it would work better for me if it was the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. But I know I won't be available on the 4th.
How does that work for folks on June 1 to 3?
I would be able to make it Zoom. I probably just wouldn't be able to make it in person, but that's just because it's a lot of time off in the start of June.
Yeah, we're trying to avoid summer as much as I can possibly avoid summer. Cindy, you've had a hand up.
I was just gonna say the 9th through the 11th isn't good for me.
Is not or is?
Is not.
Right, me either. If you don't need me. Stephanie, did you have another comment?
So I think we'll go ahead and plug those dates in and then we'll see where we go.
Okay.
First of all, what we're ready for. We're not going to do a meeting just to do a meeting, but and as you see up there was a thought to do that again up in northeastern Montana and take a look at some really great projects for access that are up there. Okay. Anything else there, Jason?
That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Okay. We need to go beyond. I would think somewhere in that July time, a Zoom to just review final recommendations and our report. We can just plug that in there for a quote unquote placeholder for a date for us.
Yeah, the later the better because it gives me more time to develop your report. But also you got to balance that with trying to get it across the street in time for EQC to review the.
Yeah, I'd just say whatever that date is.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we're up to the end. We'll just run through. I'll call your name. If you have any final comments, any comment from home that you'd like to bring forward. And we'll start with Donna.
Oh, thank you, Ed. And thanks for taking my letter serious to the council and to FWP about Hunter's education. I really appreciate you all taking the time today to listen to that. So other than that, the home front's quiet, waiting for some weather like everybody else. And we always on the lookout to see what we can find out to help with the hunting and private landowner relationships, but pretty quiet here in Southwest Montana.
Thank you, Donna. Paul?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Not much, just everything's fine, except I definitely still want to reiterate, we need more landowner participation on this council, and I'd love to have a panel of some other landowners on there sometime, but thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Lee.
Got the luxury up here. We got, we had a nice winter. We had some snow in December and made a bunch of ice. 4 old people in Hinsdale broke their legs falling down on the ice, but it's all gone now. The game's all doing good, and it's been a nice winter to be in the cow business. Haven't had to feed a lot of feed, and the deer look like they're coming back. There's a bunch of them showing up around, and everything looks good up here. Thanks.
Thanks, Lee. Maybe we'll see you in June when it all greens up.
Oh, definitely. It's the snow's coming. Nobody started calving yet. As soon as that happens, it starts snowing. It'll be good.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Stephanie?
Well, I guess we're living up to our name, the snow hole, and we got like 8 to 10 inches last night or the last 2 days, and it is heavy wet snow, which is a huge blessing because it's been so dry. So I know our biologist just finished her elk counts, haven't heard the numbers, but based on her pictures, it looks pretty promising for a good season for all, lots of big bulls, and that's about all. Thanks for all you do, and I really, really appreciate the Hunter's Ed presentation. That was super helpful, and as always, really appreciative for you guys in the department and all your hard work.
Thanks, Stephanie. Dave?
Yeah, we got about 3 inches of snow yesterday, and most of it is gone by now. As far as hunting wise, we're getting close to the end of the shoulder season for elk, and there was in my area, very few taken, and I don't really know why. One was lack of hunters, and 2 was lack of people seeing elk. When you have no hunters, you don't have any elk movement, so nobody sees nothing. And I guess the last thing I'd say is, how about them bobcats? They pulled off a pretty good feat.
They kept us on the edge of our seats.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did.
Yeah, they did. All right. Well, you'll have to put a post in my store about needing some elk hunters to get those cows. So I'll send you an email. All right. Thank you, Dave. Craig.
Chairman Beal, thanks for a great meeting. Appreciate it, and appreciate all the input and efforts on the behalf of the department. Good meeting. Really nothing different to share. It's been probably the most open winter. I've lived here all my life, and I don't recall anything like it. But I would offer one little story. We had this hunting season, if I can. We had a gentleman who called at task to take part in this advanced adult hunter ed class we put on, and he was blind. And we said, sure, we'll figure out how to do this. And everyone that graduates the class gets a chance to hunt the ranch. And so he graduated the class, passed the shooting portion of it, and then came and harvested a cow elk on the ranch. And I'm going to write an article about it, but he had a partner who used an iPad, and he had a communication with the blind gentleman's rifle. And so he would talk the blind gentleman onto the target. And that's how they harvested the cow elk, as a bedded cow. And he talked this blind guy onto the cow at 450 yards, and he shot it with one shot, never got out of its bed. So just a pretty amazing story and opportunity for people who may be challenged in some ways. Is some hope. There's hope that you can get out and hunt still. So,
well, great story, Craig. Thank you.
But
how about it, Drew?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. Is Travis Mouche with Region 7? Is he on?
Yeah, I'm here, Drew.
Hey, Travis. Thanks. Hey, quick question. Are you expecting to see a net increase, decrease, or just kind of flat in access participation in Region 7 for this coming year?
I think this year I'd expect a little bit of an increase is what I'm hoping from what I'm kind of hearing and seeing so far.
That's great. Is
But
that mostly in BMA type access?
yeah, it would be block management. Yep.
Great, great. Sorry, that was just a random question I had there. Mr. Chair, it's the time of year where I'm at a lot of trade shows. And again, I'll beat the dead horse and reiterate what we're doing here is really important, and our access programs are still highly regarded. And I hear about it on the road, whether I'm in Nashville or Reno or traveling the country or the Mountain West. So continue to keep the thumb on it, everybody. So good conversations, and we'll just keep it going into this year.
Thank you, Drew. Mr. Tribby.
Pretty quiet over here, like everyone. Pretty easy winter. We also received at our house about 3 inches of heavy snow yesterday, and it rained pretty good before that. Our Hunter Ed classes start in March. We have 2 in-person classes, one in March, one in April, and I don't even know if the registration for them is opened yet, but they typically fill up pretty quick after they're open. The other thing we have going on here in, I believe it's in February, is later this month, our block management dinners. I'm going to be out of the state when they have them this year, so I won't make them, but I know they have sent invites to the PLPW members to attend, and I always get a lot of good input when I go to those and listen to the block management participants that attend, and certainly in Region 7, they're very well attended. That's what I have. Thanks.
Thanks, Dale, especially adding that last part. It's a really good idea for everybody to get out there if they can to those dinners. All right, Cindy.
Thanks, Chair Beal, for organizing and keeping us squared away. A good meeting. It's a beautiful day here in Butte. Beautiful. No snow whatsoever. Although we had a little yesterday, it's gone. We're really dry. We're looking at wildlife issues that are still incoming. There are queries about certain things, and we're watching those. We're also watching things related to land purchases or removal from hunting, for example. So we're watching those issues. I just have a comment about the money that we were taking from the fishing program, and we were putting it in our access programs. So we're going to be short there, so that I'll be watching the money on the fishing program. And I'd like to know, just an email or something, what is the status of the marijuana money that should be coming to part of the program? That's it.
Thank you, Cindy. I will let Jason email you whatever responses he might have on those 2 last points or questions. And I think we're to Everett. It might be gone. Yeah. Okay. All right. Did I miss anybody? No? Okay. So again, I want to thank all of you on the council for your time to get on here. I know it's not always easy. And I really appreciate the input you give. It's very valuable to come from each area and give that input. Additionally, the regional folks appreciate you and your input, and all the administrators up here in Helena. It's very helpful for us to get to a point where we can offer something meaningful. So thank you all for spending your time with us. just a couple things from here. We didn't have hardly any ice fishing season here, but I will tell you that one of my business partners was out on what we know as the Helena Regulating Reservoir just a couple weeks ago, and he was making his hop onto the ice from the shoreline, which often means about a foot of water, to get to that questionable ice to catch kokanee. And as he stepped onto that ice with his quote unquote no slip traction boots, he got airborne, and he said he hung in the air about 2 to 3 feet off the ice, horizontal to the ice, and was in the air long enough to consciously realize that he better hold his head up before he hit the ice. So instead of getting a concussion, he just broke a couple ribs flat on his back. So we had kind of a rough ice fishing season here, which is kind of a deal in the Helena area. The gates of the mountain are open, so you can put a boat in and go fishing and do some jig fishing already. I just recently, Drew was talking about trade shows. I was at the SHOT Show, heavily attended, and Drew was Craig was mentioning some technology that is helpful to the hunter in a specific need. So when I got back, everybody's asking me what was new, and I noted one item that was specifically impressive from a Colt manufacturing company, and that was about a 10-foot long drone with 4 props on it that carries a submachine gun. And I thought, oh my God, this was at the SHOT Show. But you have to understand, Colt is a military contractor and crazy technology. So hopefully we'll never get there on the ethic of hunting in our great state of Montana. So there you go. Last note, Paul, we hear you. More input from non-participating landowners. And I think a lot of the input we've given to the department has signaled that in a meaningful way with relationships and connections. So I'm looking for those outcomes going forward. So thank you, everybody. We'll be in touch. And if you have anything in between that you forgot about, please send it back our way and we will include it. So have a great, beautiful day in our wonderful treasure state. Thank you.
Thank
See
you.
y'all.
Bye-bye.